Okay, I'd like to call this Community Senior Center Advisory Committee meeting to order on March 24th, 6 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Ms. Beauvais?
Here.
Mr. Sear?
Here.
Ms. Gombats? Chairman Luddy?
Yes.
Mr. Uranaga? I heard somebody out there. There's Mike.
Check the door.
Hi, Mike.
Sorry about the delay there, just had some technical issues.
There she is.
Barbara's just walking in, so I was gonna wait.
Take your time. Wait. How you doing?
I was trying to get on the town iPad and the iPad kept saying it was the wrong address. I was like, oh, really? Because it works on my computer.
Did you get my email?
I did, yes, I printed out those things. Thank you very much.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey, Barbara.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. I'm trapped inside this computer. They don't let me out.
You wouldn't have emailed him this, would you?
I did,
Oh,
yeah.
perfect, thank you.
Yeah, he got everything.
Is there anybody on what mic?
No, just Mike. What's the football helmet, Mike?
This one back here, that's a Shippensburg.
Oh,
School, Shippensburg University, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
They apparently have enough money they can give out helmets.
I thought it was a Giants helmet. I was gonna send my condolences.
No. I have you can see behind me right here. I'm an Eagles fan, so it's even worse.
One more bad year, then we draft Bryce Young.
mark those words, we'll see.
We shall see. We shall see.
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay. Everybody's here that's going to be here. We'll start with the audience of citizens. I don't see anybody online, so we'll start with anybody here in the room.
Tim Thurston, 100 Sunville Drive in Berlin. Just a couple of comments. With the pool, and I'd just like to send this around. I don't know if this is legal or not legal or whatever, but and it's going to lead to my second comment. All right, on the side there are the stands, all right, of the architect. All right, bad idea. As I've told you numerous times, you don't want people walking along poolside with the water, especially the elderly, etc. You want them on the other side, more likely above locker rooms on a pavilion, up on top, probably accessible from the second floor. All right. The other comment, and I'm just trying to figure this whole process out because I really don't know the whole process. You guys are doing a great job. You're getting all the information, etc. on the community center, the senior center. And your job is to present it to the town council. Okay. At some point, the town council is going to take that and do what with it? The answer to my question, or they're going to scale it down. Okay. Well, are you going to present specifics on parts of like the senior center and the gym? Are you going to give recommendations And then is the town gonna come back and say, well, we need to cut it down monetarily and go back to you guys and say, what can we cut? You guys are the experts here. You're the one that's done all the work and everything else. I just want to know with the building commission, you're saying about the public building commission and the town council, it's going to go to them and they're going to look it over and make
I
decisions.
believe the process is this committee will make a recommendation to town council. Town council can decide whatever they want to do. Town council can decide to send it back to the Public Building Commission with a recommendation that they go back to the two commissions that wrote the statement of needs to scale back the statement of needs, thus creating a new conceptual design. I believe, but it's all based on recommendations.
That is exactly.
I think that's the,
That's how I understand
how
it.
the charter reads.
That's our last,
Generally.
And that's
We will have to go
via
back
the
to building
charter.
commission.
Right.
That's how it works.
Is anything I've ever seen done? You know, they have committees, and like I said, you guys are the experts, you're the ones that have been at this and everything else. Town council is made up of teachers, plumbers, electricians, you know, they're not experts, and I'm not saying they're not smart, but they're, you know, you guys are the ones that do all the work on this. And to come and say, to come and present recommendations on something and have someone else, I just want to know, normally, do they take your recommendations? You know, normally, does a town council take recommendations or public commission?
This is not a frequent, normal thing, I don't
No.
think. I mean,
I
since
think
I've
they'll-
been here, I haven't seen something like this happen where there's a huge project, a subcommittee is formed, and then, so I don't know.
One, this is on the level of building a school,
Right,
so it's not something
It's
that's
probably-
normally done, and
the high
certainly
school
none
is
of
the
us
last
here,
time
I would
probably.
call us experts in building either. We're just regular citizens trying to learn this process, and doing the best we can for the town, and that's pretty much where we're at. I mean,
When you've done the work on it, you've gotten all the
Yeah.
information, everything else. And you know,
well, I mean, we have contact with the town council too.
Yeah.
You know, Brendan is on the town council, so he
Right.
keeps them in touch all the time. Mike's on the town council. So it's not like they're not, they're aware of the whole process that we're going through too. It's not,
So we're supposed to present factual information. And one of the tasks is looking at, present some information on two options. Whatever that factual, and that's what we're gonna be going through is like, what should we present, the two options with, we talked about pros and cons or somehow, reporting that. And then from any feedback that we have from our visits or discussions or guests, maybe audience and citizens for us to put into our report.
Mhm.
So like you mentioned on the spectator stands and everything. So, just FYI, like one of the things I put in is something that we're looking at, we have, everybody's kind of doing pros and cons in a report. Then we're gonna take the best of everybody's and I think, and probably come up with some type of presentation. So included is the spectator stand and pool area. And I just highlighted that as, because I've heard that, I understand it. We have the architect there. And that might be something that's not necessarily a change in the statement of need, but it's a
Yeah.
design change. And it's something that maybe we learn from listening to people or seeing. So
So it's definitely not a finality, what you're presenting to the town council. I guess my question is, who makes the final changes on a presentation to, say that if you're gonna put it out to referendum? Who makes the final decision on what size the kitchen is in the senior center?
So the council and the Board of Finance, each one has to make a decision, from what I understand, to move it forward to a referendum. Both bodies have to agree to move it to a referendum or do something, right?
Mhm.
And, or that maybe the council decides for whatever reason, when it's presented, they decide, we're gonna, okay, thank you. We want to digest it, take some time, understand it a little bit more, maybe do some homework, put it on their own, and then they might talk about it. But it's really those two bodies that I believe.
Well, I
that
mean, if you
fair?
look at our statement of charges here. And the last thing is any changes for public oversight. So, we're gathered the information, learned a lot of things about different facilities. Our recommendation to the town council is, if I can sense that the two commissions involved here may want to take a look at it again. So the town council could then say, well, we don't want to present, the design that was out there. It's not really a project, no one voted on it. Maybe we let them sit with the building commission, and then that's when we can also come forward and suggest some other changes. And then it would come back, I guess, to the town council and then decide, hey, everybody had a chance to pick apart what we saw and ideas and thoughts and move it forward that way.
Do you believe this committee will keep going and they'll come back to you and recommend?
I think once we're done with the report, it's, full of everything we get, I think we're done. As far as I'm concerned, I think,
That's the vibe. That's
yeah,
how
I
I
think we'll
feel.
just,
You guys did your job, then it has to go, like I said, back to
Yeah,
possibly
and
park
then,
and
They might decide to
council
set
would
up
say-
another committee or, maybe, or whatever, who knows? But we would have fulfilled our
Right,
responsibilities, right?
exactly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thirst.
yes, Mark.
I just want to say, I want to thank the Thurstons and the Nortons for coming here with their support and appreciate their support because there are some people that have not supported us that I think should have. But I do want to thank them for their input and their knowledge, first of all, and their interest and their support. That's what I want to say.
Anybody else? Yes.
Dan Thurston, 16 Common Way. I'm gonna make it quick because I know you have a lot to do, and value your time, places to go and see. First thing I wanted to say was just thank you to Donna and Jen about reaching out and asking questions about the high school team and about what the things look like. Please, anytime you have questions about anything we can do to help and support what you're trying to do. Here and wants to help. The second thing, this past week, Cornerstone Aquatic Center in West Hartford hosted all of the state tournaments for swimming because they were the only place that had the space and willingness to do so. And listening to coaches on the pool deck, there were a few common threads that popped up that have been discussed a little bit, just things to think about. The architect built in quite a bit of deck space based on the pool deck around the pool and the conceptual design. That was one complaint after the meet this weekend, was the lack of deck space, lack of pool deck space behind this, behind the starting blocks and on the end of the pool. They have their spectators at the end of the pool. This is another complaint. So just something to keep in mind as that process of whittling down and readjusting goes, is that if you start shrinking the area around the pool, what it can be used for starts to decrease as well. And then the other comment that came up among our coaches and people who were there was the size of the locker room. I know the conceptual design had pretty substantial locker rooms, and there's been a lot of conversation about different community centers, different facilities, and the type and arrangement of locker rooms. But again, there was conversation among the coaches on the deck about trying to fit 100 young men into one very small locker room. So again, the locker room decisions that are made in designing a facility can have a limiting effect on what you can actually do. So thank you again for all your work.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, is there anybody else online there, Jim?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll close the audience of citizens for that part. Move on to approval of minutes for March 14th. Get a motion. Everybody's okay with those?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of March 14th, 2020 presented.
Get a second. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. So as we go into topic number 5 here, discussion of the items included in the presentation. I know we had a little bit of homework and some people have some homework. What I'd like to do is start by right with Dave, because you're working on the backup, right? Mostly, from what some of our input was. things like that. I'd like to start there. You said you had a presentation, because I think some of what's in there would probably go later. So
That makes
could
a lot
maybe
of
if we
sense.
start up there, look at what you got.
Yeah, so this is the fourth meeting since I handed out the initial first draft that I put together. I know 3 meetings ago, Brandon, you weren't there, and I wasn't here also, and Donna had asked folks if they could contribute some comments. And at our last meeting, there were a lot of comments that were given regarding that particular document. So I've modified it and added pages and items based on the feedback that I received. And so what I'll do is I'm going to hand out this is the second draft of that document. I give you all a copy of it.
Same thicker, Dave.
I know, but that's because you guys keep wanting to add things, so.
I'm on my third notebook.
So I think that we should go through it page by page and get comments and add-ons. I want to start by saying that I want to thank Jen. Jen has been working hard, gathering a lot of information from town staff. She spent a lot of time getting documents for this particular report that I just handed out from Kevin Delaney. So Jen has been a big help, so thank you, Jen. I'll start out with page 1. Every page is numbered and we'll go through it. I was told that there's a couple of misspellings on names, so I will fix those. Barbara misspelled your story,
Oh, that's
but I'll
okay.
fix it. This particular page, the only change really, was Jen got me the date that council approved this committee. And at the very bottom of the page, we thought that we should add the document online. So we put down to view this entire report online. You got to go to, well, I just made that up. I don't know addresses, but we should be able to online look at it. So that's,
Once it's presented.
yeah.
Okay, got it.
Make it available to the
Good idea.
public and also anyone can see it. So that's page
Hey,
1.
Dave, can I just,
Sure.
just two, the spelling. I think we should have Jen's name as well as the staff liaison,
Oh, sure.
and, and then, just a verbiage where, towards the end, it says the committee was composed of 6. Could we just say is?
Where is?
Last sentence,
Oh,
or second last sentence, the
the
committee
committee
is,
is?
just because it's a current report, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Jen,
We're
sure.
looking at spellings too. You did
I know.
well.
I already gave him yours.
Got it.
I
figured as much. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, she did. She
Okay.
did mine. Thank you. All right, so
Sorry,
that's-
Dave. It's a lifelong problem I have. No worries.
I've been there with you.
Yeah.
My first teacher called me Brenda through school.
Okay.
Brendan wasn't a common name.
And you're not even AN.
No. My first elementary school was St. Brendan in Boston.
Page 2, page 3, and page 4 are table of contents.
That's kind of what Donna was bringing up, right? Last time was the table of contents. So someone
Yep,
could follow.
Now, there are added items on the table of contents based on what you said, but you will find those documents in the report, so we'll go through them, so I don't have to, we don't have to look at the table of contents.
Yeah, I'm just putting it on the side,
But
yeah.
everything that's in there, in the table of contents is on the following pages.
Mhm.
So we cleaned up and we learned a lot, I did, about the $750,000 grant. Most of this information was given to us by Kevin Delaney. Item B came from Kevin Delaney, and it shows what has been expended to date and what remains. Item C talks about the numbers that are directly above it and what the remaining funds are and what is encumbered and intended. And on item D, the grant term, which I just learned in the last meeting in this one, the grant term originally was supposed to stop at June 30th of 20. We've already applied for an extension. So when I originally put down that the grant expires on 12/31/22, I didn't know there was already an extension. But if you look, we were told that if we near the 12/31 date without having used the funds, we can't apply for another extension. And that's that bottom line there.
Yeah.
So we're already on one extension now, we can get another one. Well, we can apply for one, I don't know if we get it.
And right before you guys are ready to submit this to council, we will get the updated figures. The only expense coming out of the grant right now is to pay Alina for the meetings. So the number does change, so we'll just make sure we have the most up-to-date one.
And then
when
could
you're
we
ready
just
to
add,
submit.
even when it's updated, just say as of that date, since this thing is gonna be posted,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, a month from then, there'll be more dollars, so if you just put as is,
yeah,
as of date,
date. Yeah,
Right.
okay, that's a good idea.
and there'll be for B, C, and yeah, that's good, okay.
Okay, so, if you have any questions, you can just stop me as we go through, I'll just keep rolling. Page 6 is identical to the page 6 that I originally wrote. And it just says that, there's two options we considered and a couple other options that we didn't consider. So page 6 is the same as it always was.
You know, Dave, I'm sorry, just on page 1, and I'm looking at the old one too.
Okay,
So, and this is something that very from the beginning, the name is Berlin Community and Senior Center. It goes the
I'll
other way.
reverse it, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay, I'll reverse it.
We had a lot of discussion when the first video was made. We said we gotta come out with how it's gonna be. And that's what the decision was, so.
Okay, that's an easy change, I like
Yeah,
that one.
all right, so, yeah, sorry, I didn't mention
All
that.
right. So page 6 is the same as it always was.
So I had a question about page 6 here, Dave, as well. When we put down at the top options available for consideration, that means options that this committee is going to submit to the council as our recommendation. Is that what that means, or is that something that, is this more about what we were given to as a mandate by somebody?
Yeah, no, I just put down what possible options we could look at,
Well,
That's
we've
all.
actually looked at it.
What about options explored?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we've looked at.
yeah,
We've looked at the town facility and we've looked at the Y option.
Would one of our options that we put here possibly be recommending, like we had just talked about it with when Mr. Thurston brought it up, recommending to the council to change the scope of the project by sending it back to them and saying that, we want to look at something that could be smaller or something like that?
you know what, Mike,
That should be added.
no, I already have it, but it's not here.
It's just not here.
If you look, you'll see under conclusions at the end,
Okay,
I added that to look at, the town council should consider looking at a smaller facility. And
Yeah, 'cause that wasn't really in our original.
right, and it's on the last page, and I did add, because you guys told me last time, for example, possibly eliminate the third pool, the social, youth and service department, the food pantry.
Mhm.
So it is in conclusion that,
Okay.
council should consider that.
I didn't know if that might be something we consider putting for an option. If it's a conclusion, that's fine too. I don't know if it belongs on this page 6 or if we just leave it to the conclusion. part.
Yeah, well,
So is this page supposed to be the options that we reviewed? Because we did not review C.
See,
It says, yeah,
it says
not
not
evaluated.
Right.
They're
evaluated.
not evaluated yet.
So what if you change it to options
What do you want
explored
on
and you
there?
only have A and B? Options
So
explored by the
options
committee.
studied by this committee rather than available for consideration could be, anything they want to do, right? So maybe you just say options studied by, or analyzed or covered by this committee. Something like that.
Yeah,
Or
options.
analyze.
Committee,
Okay, yeah, options,
committee
explored,
options, committee options.
Options. okay, explored by
Options,
Yes.
right.
committee. Okay, and I'll take out C and D?
Yeah.
You want to ace those two? Okay,
Right, and then as we explored, like, building the conceptual design, that's where now you conclude that we have some recommendations about maybe reducing it or whatever, okay?
All right.
I think that would be great.
No, that's fine. I think then that works, yeah.
So that's 6.
Okay.
Now, 7, Jen helped me and we did some work here, but there's still some, it's not done all the way. There's still, you'll see some question marks under resident and non-resident fees. I did get some information. A lot of the facilities have all different types of membership fees, senior, youth, family, 2 people. But I just couldn't, there's just not enough paper to list it all. So I just put down individual adult rate, But I wrote at the bottom that, rates are for one adult person, but there are discounts for youth, seniors, families. Because there's just too much information and then.
Well, this is a detailed report, right? There's gonna be detail. So maybe, and I just throw this out, and I'd be glad to put it on a spreadsheet and import it into here if you want. You could have the ones that we looked at, a column, and then here are the different memberships going down on the left. So you just put dollars in here. For instance,
Yeah,
you
can
know,
do it that way too. I don't.
Yeah, but
family.
The problem is you almost need a page for each facility because it really is complicated. There's asterisks go here. If you're over 65, it's
But you-
complicated.
But I'd be glad to bring it next week or send it to you and, and to Jen or whatever in an Excel. Because I had to do the same thing. You'll see when I looked at it, because I tried to come up with what could a potential membership revenue be? And I had to look at all that stuff, and I created this kind of schematic. And I can send it to you and you can import it. It will look good in the report. And you can look at it next week if you don't like it.
Yeah, okay.
But it is all the information. You're right. Everybody has their own.
But I don't mind if you want to do it. And it looks like. it makes
Yeah, the
sense
one
to
I did
go
was
with
like
it.
4 pages because I copy and pasted from the websites and
Yeah,
so
so
it's hard because there's like 8 different memberships for each facility. So when I sent it to Dave, it was like 4 pages.
Mansfield was a nightmare.
Yeah. But if
See,
you
it
did it in a
like-
spreadsheet, Donna, just email it to me.
I will,
can
and you can
format it so
import
make
it.
sure it fits on his page.
To that point, you might want to think about, like Rocky Hill, they don't have a pool. That's why they don't charge memberships.
Yeah,
So
we gotta
only
keep that
include
rotation.
those that have the
Yeah, I don't
pools.
mind.
You just put down Rocky, a footnote or something.
Oh,
You don't
I'll
have
put
to
it
include
there.
it in the
No
schematic.
pool for Rocky Hill.
I think even like Wyndham does.
Branford's the same thing. That's why they don't charge. There's no pools.
Yeah, I was just looking through some of my notes for Branford and stuff. I think that you're on the right track here with, if it doesn't have a, something essential that we want in there, then,
Yeah.
we can just put down there's no feature.
I'll send it to you.
All right, well, if you
That's
guys
good.
know which ones have pools,
That's what
let me
you do.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that takes care of 7. So now 8 was site selection and analysis. So this didn't, the A and B didn't change, or C much, I don't think. What changed, what I added was D, was the cost and value of the land. I think it's important for council because some people weren't around when this was purchased. It was purchased, there were 4 different parcels that were purchased. Under A, that was the 2 big pieces that were purchased from Centerwoods Lower Lane Dairy. And they did pay $630,000 for those 2 parcels. And subsequently, the town went out and bought 2 other parcels that were contiguous to the Centerwoods property, and they paid $35,000 for each. So the total that Berlin has spent for that land to date is $700,000. And I put in the volume and pages in the land records. So if anyone wants to go look, it's there.
So for the current site that we're looking at, the historical purchase price has been 700,000.
Right, yeah.
That's what you said,
yeah.
okay.
There's 4 pieces that are all together to form that whole piece,
Right.
and it was 700,000. So
What was the
that's,
total acreage on it?
it's 10.84 acres. So,
I think in the event of a Y option, we would probably carve a chunk out.
Oh,
and
okay.
not give them a full 10 acres, you know what I'm saying?
Or build some playing fields,
What's that?
or build some playing fields.
That's how you work a deal.
Well, yeah.
Maybe some hiking
The
trail.
Y did say when he was here, they would like a playscape outdoors, they would like playing fields. They did say.
10 acres is a lot of land.
Yeah, he did say they would like a running track. So, you know,
Yeah, if they're
See, the
gonna
thing,
put
you
that
know,
much into
yes,
the town.
that's what he
Look
said.
across the street and
Yeah,
see what you
right,
got,
right,
but-
right.
yeah. But you might, for lower lane access road, the reason why you put that in is because the current design has a future access road going through there. You might want to say that. If someone picked this up, so what? Like, I'm just saying, the current conceptual design has a future access road that's included once the town can determine if they can purchase that land or have an easement or whatever. That was a future thing to
Well,
do.
yeah, let me just say that I actually think that somebody should look at it now because we already have traffic issues on Patterson Way. And I think if I were looking at developing this parcel, I'd want to know, you know, I'd actually prefer an access road heading out on Lower Lane to reduce traffic issues on Patterson.
I do too.
You know, I think they should really look at that.
Good for emergency
I'm not
vehicles,
saying
too.
not, I'm saying, tell the person, the reader, why you included that bullet. Some people don't realize that in the conceptual design, it says future is to have that access road, because they knew that the land was not owned.
So.
So that
would you
access
like me to
road is a
add
future.
Future Lower Lane access
Conceptual
road?
design, current conceptual design includes a lower lane access road, but the town does not own the property at this point in time. And that's your point, is to consider that. If the traffic study says you'll need that, you know, whatever, or if they decide to make a one-way of Patterson Way, you know, who
So
knows?
why
how they're
don't
gonna-
I just under B, I'll put future in front of Lower Lane, future Lower Lane access road, and I'm done. That's what you said, right?
Keep saying everything.
I-
Yeah, I'm
They're
just-
there anyways. We don't own the land.
Well, I want, you know, what happens is if you look at, if you look at the page 9, it shows that access road in the design. And I think it's important to tell people, hey, man, if you think you're exiting on Lower Lane, you're not. We don't own the land and we don't have the money to build it yet. It's not estimated.
That's right, and it was a future, they knew that, right? So somehow it was noted, and I don't know how, but that was pointed out.
All right, well, I can put Lower Lane access road and then I can put future in parentheses.
Yeah, he
And I'm
put that
done.
in, again, he was thinking, I guess he was, you know, thinking of the future. And said that would be a nice way for emergency vehicles even to get in, you know, that type of.
I think it'd be a great way to exit in the back of the property. You know,
Absolutely.
lower.
If you had it,
to
sure.
reduce traffic on Patterson Way.
So we own this and this here.
Yes, sir.
All right, and this is.
Yeah, that's the road.
And that's where it would exit down here.
Right,
Okay.
that's the
Geez, at
last
that
house
point-
there.
Would almost go out to Farmington Avenue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So I just,
road there,
Well, you're gonna be building a bridge there anyway.
is there a dirt road?
no, there's nothing, no, there's no back road there right now.
That's right.
No, there's nothing back there.
That's
It's
right. It's
extremely
just-
wet back there.
Land, it's
Very wet.
wetlands, is what it is. It's wetlands.
Very wet.
It's not even good property, you know,
When
it's
it rains, you
wetlands.
could have a boat access.
So.
Yeah, it's one of the places in town that whenever it rains heavily, it's almost guaranteed to flood.
That and Willard.
And then, again, fair point, traffic concerns, traffic study has to be done, it always will, so this is good.
So page 9, I just circled that access road so that people know what we're talking about. Page 10 are, Jen got this for me, and I just cut and pasted it. I didn't even read it and analyze it.
Yeah,
So
can you
that's the
just
truth.
reread what the sentences say to make sure? Remember last time it was very hard to
We're
understand.
trying to,
So I had Victoria and Tina write that for me.
Yeah, so I didn't read it. I just put it on there because that's what I got. But
It seems to be
And
easier to
seniors-
understand now.
at the senior center, is it 60 and above are eligible, right?
Berlin, yeah, 60 and above. I'm
Okay, we might wanna put that in,
99.9%
someone's-
positive.
Okay, 60
So
plus.
I think it's important for everyone to read this, to make sure that we all understand. I haven't read it yet. You know, so that the public and town council say, okay, where do these numbers come from? How does it work? I can put, age limit, ages start at 60, some places you're 55, you're.
Yeah, I just texted Tina to confirm.
I actually looked on there today for their membership application. It says all can apply, and there's actually nothing on there about anybody's. I was kind of surprised at that. There was no age restriction.
On their membership application?
Yeah,
Interesting.
it just wanted your date of birth, but it didn't say anything. It just said on the top, all can apply.
Yeah, she said
Well,
60 and up,
Yeah, I thought it was 60 plus.
Greater than 60, okay, I can.
but I'll
add that.
mention that to her.
Yeah,
In
yeah, put it on the form.
Yeah,
2020 and 2021, can we put pandemic? Because that's why it's down.
I don't think.
Just,
anybody will
you'll
forget
see
that.
that
I don't think anyone's gonna forget.
pool, statistics and everything, just because someone might say, geez, it really went down, 10 years from now, why? Well, that was a COVID pandemic.
The odd number on this whole thing, to me, I was looking at these today, was 2021, 491 people.
Yeah, that is notable.
Only 7,000 visits. So there must have been a lot of people coming in.
There was a lot of people coming back when we reopened.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people and a lot of new members. Because we did all those drive-through events, Tina got a lot of new members actually during the pandemic.
So I guess.
So they only count as one. So of the if you had those 1,084, which are the membership as of March 1st, 491 of that number, which is almost 50%, attend the senior center once, at least once, right? That's to say one person is in the 491. That's how I read active members at the center.
Yes,
And if you had the 1,084, which is the membership as of March 1st, that's approximately 50% of the membership attends the senior center. Of the membership, not necessarily a population of 60 and over, but of the membership. That you might want to put percentage of membership.
percentage where? What do you mean?
To me, that
It's not 491%.
no, it's 50%. 491 divided by 1,084 is 50%. I'm just rounding.
Right.
So that's what it tells you.
Oh, I see what you're
You
saying.
see what I'm just trying to say, so what? Well, what that tells me is 50% of the current membership as of March 1st attended something at the senior center during 2001. At least, that's what it's
So here's-
491 different seniors.
Is the 491 different seniors?
That's what
Yeah.
that's how I read it. That's
Yeah.
what it says.
Okay.
So tell me if I'm wrong, because.
No, that's how Tina,
Oh, okay.
That's accurate, but I would still
Yeah,
go back to
read
the
it.
last pandemic, the year before. the
That's
pandemic,
why-
right numbers.
exactly, and that's why,
This is very
that's
good.
why I had Debbie and Tina do 5
Yeah.
years,
I
because,
would
Yeah.
cut it off. I wouldn't even use that number. I would use the 2019 number at 471. Because otherwise,
Okay.
what are you going to use the visit numbers in 2021 too?
So 471 divided by 1,084,
well, in 2019, we didn't have
43%.
1,084.
Yeah,
you can put a percent for every one of those years. The
If-
assumption is you had 1,084 members. I know it's grown.
That's the number today. In 2019, we didn't have 1,084.
Right, so that tells me the population, the percentage of the members that have joined the senior center in any one of these years is very high that attend. It's 50% in 2001. It's something north of 43% in 2019. 471 divided by 1,084 is 43.5%. You probably have fewer members up top. That 1,084 might have been something south of that number. A higher percentage attended. It's about 50%, just based on this.
So what we could do is we could take, Jen, I don't know if they have member numbers for each year.
I'd have to ask.
We could add those,
she
You
look
can
at
see
it.
how
we
it
could add them
grows.
and then you could put a percent.
Right, that's a very good point. Show how the membership has grown. And then the percentage right there.
I
That's
guess the
perfect.
other thing that I'd like to know too in this document is what is the 1,084 figure in relation to all seniors?
And that's,
It's about,
So I would like to
Give you a
know
number.
that because, if we have 1,084 members, but we have 10,840 seniors, then in
we have
Berlin. then
4,600 seniors.
It's
6,000 seniors.
6,000.
We have
We have
6,000.
4,600 according to the 2020
Is
census.
that 62 and over?
65. is the
Yes,
numbers
this
they
is
give.
60 and over. That's
Okay,
why you
but-
have to,
So let's add that in because that would make the.
it goes
1,000.
up. The
All right,
percentage
so
Where'd
there's
you get the
a lower
6,000
percentage
from?
than I had.
So,
It came off
It's
the
less than 20%
report from the
then.
state.
Of the seniors use the senior center.
I'm sorry?
Then less than 20% use the senior center.
Yeah, that's what I said, about 18%, right? If you
Yeah,
had six,
mhm.
we have
Well, I had
6,000.
22. I had
Somewhere around
22%,
6,000
65,
seniors.
We'll use your numbers.
So
It's
so
18%.
that's a good point, Donna. That's an important stat that we should put out. The town council should know. We have 6,000 seniors in Berlin, 1,084 use it. And that is 18.9%.
Yeah.
We should have that in here, but Jen, I don't know how to do that because you did this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
or
gonna ask,
whoever.
I'm gonna ask Tina for how many members each year. And I'll kind of see what I can do to update this and,
Yeah, but that's a good, so then we'll know, the town council can say, okay, this many seniors use it.
That's how many registered to use it. That's not how many use it.
Right,
right,
So you're only at.
The use is
9%
down
use
below.
it.
so you can, population,
Mhm.
this is by year,
Okay, well,
population,
then we got it, so these are registered
Members.
users.
Tim is a registered user of the
And
senior center.
users.
Tim doesn't go and play setback
Percentage.
and
Right.
stuff. When he's a
go get a
registered
sandwich
member, he
once in a
gets the
while.
robocall.
So the registered users are not really, that figure is not really apropos because they don't use, not all of them use it.
Right.
So we have to use the figure that of actual visits by different people.
You would use the
well, it's, yeah, which is that
471 number for
471.
2019.
Yeah, 471 for 2019 divided by the senior population.
So if you had 3 columns, population, this is 60 and a plus, your senior population, Berlin, 60 plus, population, if you have it by year, membership by year, and users, those that attend, which is the lower number.
Yeah.
And you do a percentage of every one of those numbers. And just, if you want to do it by year,
Yeah, we gotta have to fix.
Yeah,
that.
population by year, I don't know where I would get that.
census.
The town population?
And, you know,
Senior population.
Kevin, historically,
Senior
like it's been
population.
reported,
Like each year, yeah.
I think, I think this is misleading as far as the last numbers where it says, would only count as one active member. Because how could you, if you're one person like myself and I use 2 activities, what if it wasn't me? What if I went to one activity and somebody else did another activity? I don't think you can count because you're one person.
That's how my senior center tracks it. Every time you swipe your cards for an activity, it count, that's how they got this number through. These were all generated through my senior center, so it's accurate as long as people use their cards to sign in.
so that would be the, Jen, that would be the middle number. If Barbara has done 2 activities, she's 2 in the middle set of numbers, but she's 1 down here. And that's, I think
Yeah,
what
the
Barbara's
example
saying is,
Victoria gives
I
is
like the
perfect.
Barbara, let me ask you this. What you're saying is you did 2 activities, you use that center twice as much as someone else, right?
Yes.
That's the middle center? And so are you saying that you think those are more critical, the middle section?
I think that's more accurate because I think counting is one, like some people, when we do back to the congregate meals, people will be there every day for meal. You're gonna count that as one person?
No, it's in the top part of the spreadsheet, it would count as, if Lois goes every day, she counts as 5.
Right.
But she's
Right.
still just one active member of the senior center.
Yes.
You're down below numbers can never go past 1,084.
Right.
To what? To who is active?
Correct. You go every day, you went 5 times, you're gonna be number 5 in 2022. You're gonna count as a 5 for 1 week because you went 5 times. But you're only one active number in the bottom spreadsheet.
That's why I said the bottom spreadsheet looks,
But that's why it has that paragraph that explains it.
Right.
and I.
So at least people
We
can
could-
understand
we
it.
could-
We talked about how we would put this at the commission meeting the other night. And I said, maybe you should put it both ways, but I think doing it this way, the middle way is better, is more accurate.
But it doesn't reflect how many people use the
Right,
senior
it's
center.
it's not giving all the information.
What we could do though, because you do have that, and that, it's good, for those 491,
Mhm.
those 491 are pretty active at the senior center because they represent 79 and 61 visits.
Right,
So that's, and activities, right? So we could footnote that, please note.
I wouldn't use that 7961 number. That's not a lot of visits. For 491 people.
It's visits / activities, right?
Yeah, I understand that, but if we cut that down over the course of
and then
the
with
entire year.
COVID,
that's-
in 2021, we were closed a lot, yeah.
Yeah, you
20
were closed, so
2020,
that's why I'm
2021, the
saying
numbers
cut it off
are
at
not good.
2019.
That's the
Yeah.
pandemic year.
Use the 2019 numbers, or it's gonna look abysmal.
I mean, if you look on the next page, community center's the same thing. Your numbers 2020, 2021, they're not good.
It was,
But I wanted
it comes
to-
out to,
12,583 divided by 471.
you're at
27
29, you're at
visits.
29 visits a year in 2019 per person that is active.
12,583.
You don't wanna
I'm
cut
at
that, you don't wanna make it lower than that. That's already not a big number.
What is the point of putting this in? You want to show people that
That's
we're
what I
not
was just
using it
getting
enough
at.
or whatever?
The
point
You just
is-
want factual
The
information,
point is to
right?
show demand. You know, how many,
Usage.
you know, if I did all this report, and I said, we got 10 seniors, people
Right.
would look at us and say, oh, wow, we got 10 seniors.
Why are we
Right.
building?
What if I
facilities?
had a report that said, you got 15,000
Right.
that are active members? It's just to show what the demand is.
Right, it's the factual.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's
That's all it is.
usage,
This
right?
is gonna guide the town council into looking at options of downsizing it and stuff. Because if we don't need X number of square feet because we don't have as much activity, then
Right,
it's better.
right.
Because the other option is, we don't wanna end up going through all this, and putting it out for referendum at the current size and having to vote it down.
And so also the other way to look at that is, this is factual information, this is usage. Expand the senior center to provide other activities, perhaps, again, are you gonna get more activities? You bet, because you know what, I'm in this number, I'm not in this number, I'm not in this number. If you do something more to give me to do, thank God I'm a little younger senior, I'll say, sorry, Barbara, but maybe I'm a little more active. Maybe I want to play pickleball. I can't play pickleball at the senior center. But boy, I can play it if we build something or give me some place to go to play pickleball.
Well, if you add a pool too, I mean, that adds more activities as well, right?
I think that
Right,
this is very factual,
Yeah, that's all we're trying to do is to let them
so we can
know.
put it in a table. And again,
It'll be
footnote,
easier
to your point, I think, again, using the same numbers, Jen, I've done this for work and everything. I'd be glad to help you put it in a table.
I think this chart is
Using the
the
same
way it
data.
is.
Yeah.
I mean, this is pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
right.
Surely, that's right. And I think having the members, you'll see how it's grown.
So do we want to leave it as is, or are we gonna tweak it?
I would just turn it into a table, so you can show your percentages, like you said,
Well, all we
like
gotta,
population.
yeah, all we gotta do is add another block after 471 and just put the percentages right there.
You want a population on there,
Well, the population, yeah. well,
because that's gonna support, it's factual.
Well, you could just put an asterisk at the bottom, senior population over 60 in Berlin is 6,000. All figures calculated based on that,
Sure,
yeah.
do
just-
that, and then
We're
we
not
can
gonna
all-
get an accurate number. 6,000 is close enough.
But
We're
it
not gonna be
wasn't
able-
6,000 in 2017.
Kevin
2018.
has some numbers, so.
It was,
How
it was
much,
probably right in the same ballpark.
Sure.
do 6,000 for all of them?
Yeah, I would, I
Okay.
think that's, if it's 6,000 now. I
Just
mean,
so
if
that
you
it
look at
ties to
town's-
the finance
The
department's
town's
numbers.
population only changed 1%.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right,
Okay.
For 2 years, so it's not,
Yeah.
we're not talking big numbers.
And
Hold
it,
on, Dave.
just for
You got it,
ha-has,
Jen.
I'll put it in a
Okay.
table, show you what it
Okay.
looks like, you can decide, but using the same numbers, just so you
No,
can.
Jen said she's gonna handle it.
Oh, yeah, no, but you wanted to leave it as is, I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
she did as well.
I'll just-
Oh, we'll just add those columns.
Take a
Just
look
add
at
a
it,
couple
see if
columns.
the format looks better.
Sure, yeah,
No.
okay,
So
same
that's-
with senior or
Now,
community center?
here's 11, this is the community center, and I did not read this, and Jen gave it to me, I cut and pasted, I put it on, so I haven't evaluated it, I've done nothing. But it's there.
And this doesn't have membership, so there's really no way to,
Correct, we just take attendance every single day.
Okay, so,
Okay, so, and what this does not include is the community center rooms, people that have
It does,
reserved.
that's groups and classes,
this is everything.
that's the biggest
Oh,
number.
that includes like Boy Scouts,
Yeah, that's where all those are in.
and so if it's Boy Scouts, we know the number, or is it just like one Boy Scout troop?
Oh, no, we know the number,
So
everyone,
it's,
we take
total
attendance
numbers,
of every
thank you.
single room in every group.
okay, and I would do the same thing, put pandemic in for
Well, you guys are efficient.
2021.
I like that.
And then, okay, the other, would you like outdoor pool usage? We have that too.
We have
Pool?
membership, we don't have usage. I mean, we
We
have
have-
membership, if you buy a membership and you go every day
now,
versus
see,
once a
what
week,
happens,
we don't have
outdoor
that.
pools
We have
are
visits
not
to the
going
pools.
anywhere.
She has,
We're not proposing getting rid of outdoor pools,
It-
so, you know what I mean? So that,
Right,
number,
exactly.
we're not affecting that, we're not affecting
Well,
outdoor
it's a
pools.
it's a consideration they may want to consider.
Well, that's later in the report, it says closing outdoor pools, not a value, it's right in there.
No, well, we, right, we didn't evaluate the impact, but we have the financial impact. We did that, we have that. And in that same data is the number of visits to the pool pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Debbie had it, so.
But I don't understand the bearing, putting outdoor pool information on this report has when we're not charged to do anything with outdoor pools and we haven't even looked at them.
Well,
So I don't know the reason for putting that information.
what I'm, potential savings, I'm not advocating it. We did look at it. We have a document, it was presented. Incremental costs of the pools, how much the town funds versus passes to the pools for revenue. We know how many days they were open, and that's just something, again, potential for the council to consider. And it's the factual information that gives them information if they want to consider. It's not, I'm not saying they will, but we have that information. It's in our minutes. We presented it and we looked at
And there's
each pool.
capital improvement numbers.
And the capital
Look it
improvements
up,
are even
whether
bigger.
they're
That's right.
spend money to
Yeah, those numbers are in.
work on the pool.
So we have a schematic. We have a whole, just one
We're
sheet.
jumping ahead.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm just thinking where we put it.
Why don't we go through, we'll just put that off to the side and then we can think about that.
Okay, let me write that down. Outdoor pool.
I want to ask Dave,
Yes.
where you have the asterisk, it says, the numbers are calculated, the same person may be counted more than once.
Correct. That means if you come to the community center and use the gym in the morning, and then you're part of the Boy Scout troop, you were there twice, so you count as 2 visits. We don't have membership, so the only way we can count is by visits.
And you count that every day.
We do attendance, we have an attendance clipboard that
So
Terry
that's also
maintains,
like
if
with
Terry's
the-
not there, me or Debbie watch it.
And that's also like with the senior center if you go twice.
Yes, but that's tracked through my senior center, because we don't have
And you're counting him as one person.
one active
here
member,
you're
but
counting
2
as more.
visits. You're counting people and you're counting visits at the senior center.
And here
At the
you're
community
counting-
center, we can only count visits because we don't have memberships.
Right.
Okay, so we're okay on page 11. So,
I think so.
Yeah,
okay.
so
Now, 12 is sort of a list of the pages that follow page 12 with respect to financials. A and B have not changed except for the second bullet on B. Because at the last meeting, I learned that the town staff is coming up with calculations on annual operating costs for the new facility. And you'll see I put down page 14, but I didn't get any information yet. But page 14 is in there and it's blank. So that was added. C never changed, but D was added because we talked at the last meeting about FF&E, and I added a page, you'll see page 15, but I didn't get any information yet about FF&E from anyone. So page 15 is blank, so we have to finish page 14 and 15, which are blank, so that people know what town staff believes the operating budget will be, and maintenance costs for the new facility, and what FF&E would be. So that's on page, that's just page 12 tells you what's coming. And then page 13, yes,
I'm
okay.
sorry, page 12, the annual cost of Putnam,
Annual cost of Putnam, yes.
right? Since we're part of Meriden New Britain, should we, he's supposed to send us, I don't think we've received it yet, the Meriden's site's operating costs.
Oh, I don't mind looking at that.
And use that, because, again, John Benigni, somehow we gotta summarize his thoughts, but he was thinking that in whatever he built in Berlin may be close in size, maybe a little bit bigger than Meriden, and that's why we asked for the Meriden operating costs. We have their financials, but that includes all three places.
I don't mind looking at Meriden's.
I think it's more applicable than Putnam.
I don't see why it would be a Y is a Y is a Y. They have pools, they have a pool.
Putnam-
Actually, Putnam is a newer facility. It's only 7 years old. It's probably more efficient than the
Bigger,
Meriden facility. So
It is bigger, it's closer to.
I don't know how it compares either.
well, it's 46,000 square feet
Right.
in Putnam.
Yeah.
And they gave me their operating budget, and it's on page 13. It's the same page 13 operating budget. Putnam. I haven't changed it. But if there's something else that comes up, if somebody else has some ideas about
Well,
operating
I'm just
budgets.
thinking because it's a Meriden and that's who would run it, we should at least get it from
Yeah,
him.
no
Now,
problem. I don't mind looking at that.
when John did see, I don't know how he saw it, but he said Putnam is run out of Hartford. It's run totally different. It's not my projections of revenue and expense. So I just caution you.
Okay,
So the 3.3, okay, so I see. So assuming Putnam's 46,000, the 2.2,
Yeah.
extrapolate 3.3. And again, depending, like the staff is working on incremental expenditures and all that. So then we can compare that, maybe go back to the wording to see how that.
yeah, I don't mind looking at that. It was just a quick way to try to figure that out. So page 14 is blank. I'm gonna wait for Jen and company. I guess maybe Kevin's working on that. Tell me what they believe operating costs are and maintenance of the facility annually. That's page 14.
Actually, can I ask a question? Yes. So I've been meeting with Arosh and Kevin a few times the past couple of weeks. Something we'd like to gauge from the committee is what do you guys envision the operating hours to be? Because that takes a large play into.
So
On a facility like that, you'd probably be open at 6 in the morning until 10 at night.
It's kind of what I was thinking. And then weekends, what are you looking at?
Can I throw something out there too? I just had a question, because Dave, when you're using the Putnam YMCA, and obviously we just talked about using the Meriden budget too, to sort of extrapolate for the budgets, would we be able to maybe to use the FFE expenses for the Meriden YMCA too, just to get an idea? I think that's what we're trying to paint here, right? Is there an idea of what we're looking to do?
Well, I don't see why we can't use any facilities FF&E that have been purchased recently.
Right.
Know what I mean? know, somebody.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
You know, any facility that has got a pool and has a community senior center and is, you know,
Multi-purpose rooms?
similar in size.
Yeah, I mean, Bloomfield does not have a pool, but their FFE was 342,000.
Right.
And Tom has 150 in for ours.
Rockville, Newtown too, right?
Yeah, Newtown was 250.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
No, but
So-
if we're able to do that and extrapolate it like we did with Putnam and just do it to, you know, whichever facility we feel is most,
yeah,
I don't know, you know, closest to what we want or what we're looking at, maybe that's the best way to do it. I'm not sure. I'm just throwing it out there to, you know, see what you guys think.
So, as Jen will mention, right, or, I actually sat down with Jen and went through, because she presented it to us last meeting. Initial thoughts, we went through it, and then, you know, custodians, public grounds, and lifeguards needed some increase, so there's an increased cost. And as Brendan is aware, and then, so I think Jen now is trying to work with that and understand how we're gonna operate that building so that you can come up with the expenditures and then determine the equipment, blah, blah, blah. So Newtown, I don't know what the Meriden Wise hours are, but I know we can get it, right? So on the weekends,
I had them
they
all, I
work,
didn't
so
bring
you
it.
got those. So I personally, I suggest that you look at those towns and determine, you know, what
They
those
were,
hours.
here, I got it right here. So
Bloomfield, you know, we have those hours.
Bloomfield, so 6 to 10 is pretty, I mean, 6 to 8, 6 to 9, 6 to 10. I think we can agree 6 to 10 is probably a good number to go by. Weekends, Bloomfield didn't give me weekend hours. Mansfield is 7 to 4 and 8 to 4. Newtown is 7 to 5:30, 7 to 5:30. And Rocky Hill's not open on the weekends. Those are the ones we were able to find.
We could also in the middle 7 to 5 on the weekends.
7 to 5, okay. Just because for staffing, I need to have some kind of.
Sure you do, yeah.
Yeah. In regards to FFE, if Dave, you don't mind, I go right to page 15.
oh, yeah,
All right,
yeah.
Just another couple questions. We had decided we wanted to get kind of general consensus from the committee. Do we want to reuse the existing furniture we have in the community center and senior center? Or are we looking to outfit it new?
You know, as I sit here and think about this, Jen, it's sort of difficult probably to propose to town council, we're gonna use 5 used desks, 3 file cabinets, and then we're gonna buy this new stuff. I think sort of for ease of calculating, you should look at all new stuff. That's what I would recommend for that facility, because the worst thing that can happen is we have taxpayers spend 36, 40, 44 million. And then they go visit it, and we got some old crasher desks hanging around. So I don't think that's appropriate. It's not gonna go over well, you know?
I'm sure some of the stuff could be repurposed in other departments, so.
Right, and like we do have, the senior center has brand new tables and chairs.
Yeah.
Those we would easily have no
Sure, yeah.
problem. Community center
Stuff
just
like that,
opened,
yeah.
community center just bought 25 new tables, but the chairs are all from the senior center back in the day. The exercise equipment, we have some new cardio equipment, but every single weight piece is from the old community center on Grove Street from the 80s. So, I mean, aside from the tables and chairs at the senior center and a couple tables at the community center, I was kind of going with all new. I just want a consensus from the committee that that's okay.
So if there's things that you can use, I say use them. Don't get detailed, because what's a
Right,
couple
yeah, I'm not
$1,000,
gonna- we have
right?
25 tables here,
Like,
10 chairs here.
When Jen and I sat down, we came up with some estimates of, I think they're probably high, because it's all new. There's some things that you can fill in with the stuff that you currently have.
I would prefer.
So
to err
maybe
on the higher
it's
side if we have
50,000
to.
less or
That's my
something.
thought too.
Excuse me?
I would prefer to err on the higher side.
Sure you would. Yeah,
Because the last thing you want to do is come up short.
you have $500,000 in there, right? You have a list. $500,000, and that's net. So that's saying we're gonna spend $650 because Tom has $150. right? So we spent $650 in furniture and equipment and everything.
Because that
I think
also,
that's pretty
that
high.
also includes the pool and the
Seems high.
gym, things that don't include, like,
Right,
are included in the
that's
gym.
very high though, 650. Because he has 150, you have
I didn't,
500,000.
yeah, I didn't count his 150. I didn't put that anywhere yet, because I didn't know. I didn't look at, like, I knew Tom had put 150 in, but our numbers, we just took from what we, and we got estimates, like Rocky Hill just redid their exercise room. It's 588 square feet. They spent 50,000. I took that number, I multiplied it with what the statement of need says our exercise room, came up to 275,000. I said,
Yeah.
that's really high, so I bumped it down 50,000. Knowing some of our cardio equipment we could take over.
You know what I think we should bid it all is new, reasonable, what we really need, no more, no less. And then put an asterisk at the bottom. Some furnitures from the senior center, community center may be able to be
Maybe
repurposed over there. Just put an asterisk, be done. If you're gonna try to run around the town and try to figure out what the tables were, we'll see.
Right,
No,
exactly.
You can't do that.
But Jen has a good list here, and it's 500,000. And that excludes 150, so it's 650.
Okay.
But I think that's high. I would just, I say use 500,000, know that Tom has 150 in his number already. So incremental is 350.
No, what we have to do is we have to use the numbers that we need. We can't just discount Tom and discount her 500,000 unless we know specifically.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's,
If she needs 500,000, she needs 500,000.
so, all right, so
No, you know what I mean? If she says
Well,
she
I
needs,
think there's
So-
150 already in the project.
there's 150 in the 500,000.
No,
so
in the
you want
project.
500,000
There's,
plus.
there's 150 in the FFE for, that Tom put in. We knew that wasn't enough because
Right.
that was for tables, chairs, the community areas. It didn't include the pool, it didn't include the exercise room, it didn't include the gym.
And you're not.
All new exercise.
500,000.
That's what I'm saying, you have
So,
500,000.
yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
So
right.
500,000 total.
But
So it's
like-
total
And like I said,
650.
225 of that
All
is
the
the
gyms
gym.
are in their incremental
Then
500,000.
we would pull out his
That's
150,
your list.
500, or your 500 or something.
And I would put this list in the
I
detail.
think it does.
You pull
It doesn't include, the 500,000 does not include buying QA&M's buck 50 stuff.
All right, so we're gonna,
Right, that it's 650,
it'll be 650 total. the
Which is-
expenditure.
Right. So.
no center has spent that, so
That's high.
that's where I'm saying it's high, but okay, so 650, put it in.
That's when you get
No,
to
no,
the excess,
if whoever's working on this, Jen, with you.
Yeah, we're gonna, like I said, I
Refine
just,
stuff.
I wanted to
refine
make
it.
sure that, like, we're not being expected to bring every single thing from the community center and the senior center over there.
Not every
Because like I
single
said,
thing.
some
that's right. I
stuff
don't
is,
think that's
That's
practical.
correct.
That's not
No.
even,
No.
that's just a bullet on the bottom. Use stuff that is in new condition, may be brought over and repurposed.
right,
And what are you gonna say, 10
Well,
grand?
we're spending over $40 million. I mean, what's the point of
So-
spending? it all?
And everybody can, I think we should put this list in. It gives, again, this is a detail. Put this list in that represents the sum of the 650, 500,
Once it's
whatever
done,
your
yeah.
number is,
once it's
it's
done.
here.
Well, I have a blank page, 15 for it.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
what the
insert it.
FFE,
With
It's ready.
because even though like Tom says FFE is furnitures, fixtures, what's the other one, equipment? That I
The
think,
list in.
that whole spreadsheet I think is FFE.
Yep.
Because it's mats on the wall in the gym, it's things you don't think of, it's a scoring system for the swimming pool. And thank you, Dan, for your help coming
But
up
you
with
have- which-
everything.
right, you have that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you're gonna
It's
insert,
stuff like lap
Yeah.
links that you only need to buy them once, so they're not gonna be part of your operating, but you have to buy them once you have a
It's
new
just-
pool.
right, and that's why you went, and you did it right, you went to DM. and you
Right,
got
oh, Dan
that.
gave me
So-
everything, yeah. And the wild numbers I got from Rocky Hill too, because they just recently went through getting new stuff.
Right, and that's, okay, so you have the list, she'll insert it in,
No,
you got the number.
It is what it is. Whatever
Yeah,
you
and I'll
figure
look
out,
through it
no
all.
higher, no lower, just tell it what it is.
It's a guesstimate.
Okay, so that's 15. Now 16, really, 16 hasn't changed either. 16 is the same document that was given out 4 weeks ago. It hasn't changed at all. That's just, it talks about bonding. So page 16 lists the documents that are going to follow.
Yeah.
So page 17 is the bond numbers for 36 million. And we did confirm with Mr. Delaney for 4%, 5%, 6%, 10, 15, 20 years, because rates are going up. So I had Jen say, ask Mr. Delaney, are those numbers still good? We said, yeah, 4, 5, 6% still seem to make sense. So 17 is 36 mil, 18 is 40 mil.
Sorry, and you know, I thought what would be helpful on this too is, and Kevin said he would do it, is put a couple examples for people. You know, some people don't know what 2 mils mean, right? So if you had a house at market value 350 or 450, whatever you want to use, I told Kevin, use your thought, put the tax impact.
Yeah, but see what happens, Donna, this is for council, this isn't for taxpayer.
No, but we're,
Council is gonna have to evaluate this. So adding figures for Joe homeowner on this doesn't make any sense. Town councilors all know what a mill rate is, they know what the financial impact.
But it is-
Citizens
Remember-
are pretty acute on what the mill rate is too, believe me.
When you own a house,
That's
when you own a house, you know what a
finance.
motor rate is.
okay, so
You know exactly what a mill rate
the mayor
is.
talked about us making a presentation, so I'm thinking this is gonna be a public document, right?
Yeah, well,
And because it's gonna be on the website and it should be. And then we have this PowerPoint. And when you're making the presentation to the council, you're really making it to the residents as well, because they represent the residents. And if the mayor wants to do it, council and public at the same time, in other words, have it at, you know, the high school or whatever, you might, I think we should tell them. Because I think not everybody's as astute as everybody is here, or, you know,
okay.
what is 2 mils?
All right,
I just,
understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But if we look at these, I have 3 sheets here with 3 different bonding amounts.
yes,
And for 3 different terms with 3 different resulting mill rates. So you have 9 different scenarios that are possible.
in your detail, but you
Yeah,
don't have to
so
put
we're
that in the
gonna go
presentation.
through 9 different scenarios to explain to the taxpayer on a specific value house, what the financial impact is. And there's gonna be a very small percentage of people that have that value house. You know, we're sort of like, I'll put it in, no problem.
You don't have to, Kevin can do it for you,
Yeah.
you just put it in.
We can be consistent with finance uses.
Okay,
You do it when you do
Just
the
have Kevin use
finance
the number
department
you
does it when they
Yeah,
do the budget.
I
They
believe
put
he's
it
got a
in.
number that's
Okay.
for single family, two family.
Okay. That's fine with me, I don't know.
I think it was
I'm on it, Dave.
200,000 assessed.
You're on it,
I'm
Jen?
on it.
Okay. All right, so, Jen's on it. Okay,
That's
so,
what you emailed him, right, Donna? You emailed Kevin that, right?
Yes.
And he just
It
hasn't
was
gone back
based
to
on,
it.
you know, the meeting that we had, right? Which everybody's aware.
okay, so that's 17, 18, 19, those are just Kevin Delaney bond tables. 20 is the cleaned up timeline for bonding and referendum. As in the first package, I just had a chicken scratch, Kevin
Yeah.
crossed out the case. But this is the new one that Jen provided that says, you know, okay, hey, this is when you gotta get going if you want to have a referendum and be bonded. So that's right from, you know, those folks. 21 is the same document that we were given originally about proposed bonding for the next 10 years. Only thing Kevin added is the note that I put on the bottom. And those are Kevin's words verbatim, that he said, no, there's now a current discussion about police department remodel and some ARPA funds identified for the HVAC system are proposed to
Yeah.
offset. So this is what Kevin gave us. So it's nothing new.
And it's as of February 22. I say that because I know these things change.
Yeah, that's.
Do we wanna-
If they give me one from March, I'll put it in.
Maybe we should just make sure it's as of, because it, you know, like the new budget going out might change. Just-
Okay.
Just put it as of.
Yeah, okay, I can just put March. there,
Yeah.
with a question.
Yeah, because this will be submitted before the budget's approved, so.
Okay. So 22, I just got the info, I've been trying on.
This is the capital budget here.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is accurate to the.
yeah, because it doesn't have next fiscal year, so,
Right, doesn't have 22, 23.
well, there's no capital those years
Well,
anyway.
I'm on the capital committee, so. this is-
Yeah, he copy and pasted right through from the capital plan.
And the 300,000, it did come out of the ARPA. That's all The police department's another 5. Bonding is gonna be done.
Okay, so now, page 22, I have changed from originally, but Kevin did provide me the per capita numbers. But I just haven't had a chance to get that, but I will the next couple of days. I'll fix that one. So we know that one.
So there's updates to these numbers?
Yeah, these, I just made these up.
Yeah, that's what I
I
thought.
just made them up. The per capita stuff I made up, but I did use 1, 2, and 3, which is what Kevin gave us.
Right, he said we were number 3.
We're number 3, but
Yeah,
he gave
so
me,
you're gonna change
yeah,
that.
I'm gonna fix that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna fix
Can
that.
you get a list of all surrounding towns?
He gave me the whole state.
He gave us 169 towns.
He gave me everything.
Perfect, put the list on here. It's only a page.
No, it's a couple pages.
Yeah.
Two rows.
But it's Excel, we might be able to
So
delete
took
columns that, I'll have to
Yeah,
look at it.
okay, we'll fix it.
Yeah, if you do full columns.
Yeah, we're not, we were number 16 out of 169. That's how high we are.
No,
Remember, but so, and I
Tim,
did have
very familiar with that.
a chart.
too familiar.
Okay, so I'll fix that one. Now, this one, page 23, both of these 2 paragraphs came directly from Kevin. And I just cut, paste them, I just copied and pasted and put them on. I read them quickly. And then Kevin came back with the second paragraph, and after he said the second paragraph, because I asked him, I want to know what's the percent probability of a downgrade for the bond rate. And this is what I got. Now, I do remember when he was here talking to us, he said, there is a potential for a downgrade. He did say that. I absolutely said, but this is what I got last week. So I haven't really spent much time looking at this, and I don't, but I did tell Jen, a lot of this information is Kevin's, and it's gonna be made public, so we better show him what we're doing
Absolutely.
to make sure he buys into all these things, 'cause I don't wanna do something wrong, and Kevin's name is on every page, it says information for Kevin, so I wanna make sure that he has a chance to review this before it goes out.
And when Kevin was here, and again, we amended the minutes in the next one. Because when I had a discussion with Kevin, what he had told me is that, it shouldn't be a downgrade as long as we tell a good story, because every time you meet with the bonding agencies, you have to tell a story. Why are you doing this? They want infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he did, as you said, he had the comment that was in our minutes. Then we amended the minutes because I said, please go back and listen to the tape. Because I followed up on that because I picked up on what Kevin said. And I said, but Kevin, if you tell the story, like you always have to talk about how we're planning, how we're doing things, why we're doing it. And again, this is, the town referendum has passed it. You can afford it. Will we get a downgrade in your professional opinion? And he said, if we tell a very good story, no, there wouldn't be a downgrade, but that's maybe why he's concerned about this.
Yeah, well, see, a good story is subjective.
No, but
That
Dave-
changes with
Dave-
every administration.
Okay, but
You know what I
know,
mean? Yeah,
you
no,
guys, please,
No, I know,
okay?
I know.
But when you go for financing, Kevin will tell you, you sit in a room, you talk to S&P. You have to tell the story, a true story,
No, I believe
why
you.
you're doing it. When you do that with the bonding agencies, you're sharing things, just like the council has, through Kevin and Roche and others, they've done that, and they've done a very good job in bringing things down. We got a great rating. Just because you increase debt by itself does not mean you're downgraded. What it means is you have to explain it, you have to be able to afford it, the town can afford it, that's what Kevin was trying to say. But again, show it to him, and he is the specialist, he knows, let him put the wording
Yeah,
in.
if he can live with all these zeros based on what he said.
I don't think,
mind,
I think
but
if
I don't
it's
know.
zero, but see,
I
he's
don't
the
know.
finance guy. He's got us to a good place right now. You're on the finance committee, Tim. You know how good he is. So he's represented the town well, but if it's zero, I would all be for it. Don't include it, but put whatever Kevin says,
I would check and make sure. it's-
you know, there's always a potential for a downgrade if anything happens, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I asked the question. I wanted to know, you know.
That can
But
be
you-
changed in a
Right,
heartbeat.
but the chance of that happening, if the town supports it and it's finding, and the town can afford it, Hartford may not be able to be in the same boat as Berlin, for instance. It doesn't result necessarily in a downgrade. I can't tell you that, but that's what Kevin was saying.
Yeah, that's why his name's on that page. I don't
So
know
keep
that.
on
I
going.
will check with Kevin.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
check with Kevin. Okay, so 24 is the same document that I handed out based on the presentation from Mr. Benigni. I didn't modify or change anything on that document. It's based on what he said, and I think it's important.
These are his comments, right?
Now, this is what we learned.
Right, so we say
From
our biggest program, but this is his,
Yeah, well.
Right, I'm trying to-
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the presenter, I said our biggest program, you know, I
do we
guess,
want to say, like, these are his comments from our minutes, you know,
well, I put down right under the title.
Maybe Dave just add in front of parentheses or right at the beginning of the break, comments from Meriden YMCA.
Okay, yeah. I'll put that.
executive director.
Yeah,
Yeah.
comments. Sure, that's good. Okay, so that takes care of that. Page 25, I haven't changed, that's the same page that I gave out 4 weeks ago.
We got some. Not a lot.
Well, all I'm saying here is that the town doesn't pay to build the facility and the town doesn't pay the money. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all. And
I'm sorry, I missed that. I was focused, I want to make, I'll go back, I just did this question and answers, but yes.
now, 25 is the same
Yeah,
document
got
that I put down there. And all I'm saying is
Yeah.
informing, you know, people that
Yes,
if the Y's built, they're paying to build it and they're paying to run it. And that's all it is. That's all I put down.
To that point, entire cost, and you might have had as comments, I'm sorry, I didn't read the full page, but that's where John was saying, you know, we would look for something from the town, perhaps land or whatever, and that's what the council would have to decide. So on the entire, unless towns decide to provide any support for the water.
Right, and so, on page 8, when it talks about site selection and analysis, item C, I listed sale of land to
Yeah,
YMCA
yeah.
or a lease, so there's some options, you know, so I did put that in there.
No, I know.
Once
So
we
that's
get
what I'm
going,
saying,
we may
entire
be able to work
cost,
deals
right.
with them for different
It just
things,
kind of
but-
refers, if the town gives $1 lease, right? They're not gonna have to pay the what, so it's, you know, they don't pay the entire, necessarily pay the entire cost. Maybe you just say unless certain provisions as identified in page 8C or something, you know, you could just reference 8C.
Okay. So then, page 26 is the same page that I had from day one. After we talked to everyone about fundraising and grants, I haven't modified this. I haven't changed it. It's exactly the same page with respect to fundraising.
Do you want to put fundraising/donations for each? You have the grants, private grants for each, but fundraising and donations, because that's even the Y is big
Oh, you want me
fundraising.
to add fundraising and
Because that's how they
donation?
get their money,
All
right?
right, I'll
Yeah.
add that.
And fundraising/donations,
Fundraising.
same for the town of Berlin.
slash donation.
I have a quick question. I don't mean to go backwards and I apologize for this, but back on page 25, putting down the potential costs for the YMCA and that type of stuff. Did we ever ask the question about whether or not the YMCA then, because they're assuming the entire cost and operating budget, that they would be the ones that get to determine what's in the YMCA as far as like the structure of the YMCA? And I mean, they would, have they agreed to be able to follow our statement of needs for that?
No, they
Wow.
actually stated that they do not meet the statement of needs. They're not looking to build the same type of facility. They
That
actually
might
said
be something we want to list here as well, just to,
We might be able to get some concessions.
That's right.
Sure.
The more you give, the
They're
more
gonna be
you're gonna get.
accommodating to us.
Right.
He
So-
did say that he would listen. Just like, he's listened about the competitive pool. He changed his, he feels that.
He
we're in a
definitely changed his
competitive
course on the
pool and
diving.
I mean, he wasn't there before, now he's there. But he would listen to the community, if the community wants it. I followed up and I asked about the water therapy pool. And he said, if the community wants it, but realize that's increased cost. So, he may listen, there's no guarantee, but he may, and I think Tim's right. If the town decides to give him something, maybe the town can say, but we want to make sure whatever's included.
Yeah, maybe we can put that in there, and put that they would listen to us if they're changing anything.
And maybe put current, or maybe in his comments, he cannot meet the statement of needs. We should put something like that, if it's appropriate for this report. We can certainly put it in the PowerPoint, so. Because that's his, he
Did he
can't,
say that when he was here?
he did, so the
When
same,
he was here, he said, I can't meet the statement of need.
Well, yeah, they're not interested in building a senior center.
Yeah, he said we're not
And-
looking to build the 70,000 square. foot.
and not all the Parks and Rec stuff, like all the community center rooms and things like that.
I don't mind adding that.
Yeah.
Want me to add that to 24?
We asked him to identify specifically, and he said, just generally, we're here to complement Parks and Rec in the senior center, not replace.
That's, yeah, that's.
You can even, put
Oh,
that
yeah, I
in.
actually, no, I have that as C, 24C.
Yeah.
It says, it's not a replacement, it's a supplement. It's a
Right,
super-
and maybe there you just put, he cannot meet the statement of needs. That,
Well, there's probably other places where you can't meet the statement of need, just not.
Yeah,
the
C,
senior
Yeah.
can
center.
you throw in Parks and
It's
Recreation
community center
Department
as
too,
well.
on C?
yeah,
On
Places-
C,
there's places we're not gonna meet the statement of needs at this point.
And park and rec,
Parks and Recreation Department.
rec department. I'll add that, sure. Okay, I'll add that.
Yep.
Okay, and then, okay, so that's, we're around 26. And I'm gonna add fundraising and donations to both
yes,
Yes.
A and
thank
B.
you, thank you.
Okay, I'll do that. Now, I did work on this. Actually, I worked on this today. This was originally in the original packet, and I think it's important for people to know what local facilities are available that have pools. Some of the numbers, the membership dues, I don't have quite correct yet, and I don't have the pools. Everything is an 8.25 meter, but that's not really what it is. That's just what I threw in there, but I will fix it. I'm gonna call, like I called Southington Y today, and they have one pool and it's 6 lanes at 25 meters. I know that is true.
25 meters, good.
Yes, no, that's what they told me. Well, that's what,
25.
That's a huge,
25 yards.
yeah, yards is
Well, do you guys figure pool and yard or? meter?
yards.
Yard.
Well,
Okay,
it's both, but the meters, that's a huge
all right, so,
Olympic size.
so
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
All right, so everything is in yards with pool. Okay, so I'm gonna fix this up. If you folks know of any other local, something pretty close, I actually, if you look at the addresses, I put the miles for each one. And I put, how far it is from town hall. I put it from town hall. So people know, how far of a ride it is to get there. I will fix this.
Do you,
Clean it up.
and again, I'll offer, you can tell me if the consensus is, you can put that in a schematic, and you can have the different rates. And I say that because one adult, single, maybe you want to choose a family, or maybe you want to choose a senior. But if you have them all, which, by the way, they're public, we can get it,
Yeah.
you might want to put in a schematic.
I think that, I'm not so. It gets complicated. My goal is just to show people where are local pools, that's about.
But you have the prices in there.
Yeah,
That's fair, that's good. So I think you can just show a little bit more for prices. You can just do it a different way and just show.
I'll look at it some more. I'll look
Okay.
at,
Yeah.
look at prices. Other prices. Okay, I will.
Well, for these, actually, for these, you're not gonna have resident.
No, because
You're
YMCA
right,
doesn't
yeah,
have
okay,
those.
yeah. Well, I did a copy and paste from
If you have, I mean, an individual and family membership would probably be two things.
Right,
that are the
okay.
closest.
Right, individual,
A lot of them don't have it, like my wife swims in LA Fitness now, it's $30 a month. And if I join, it's $30 a month.
Right, there's no-
Five members
okay.
join, it's $30.
I'll fix that, I'll change it, I'll fix that up, you're right. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll fix that.
Hospital for Special Care, can anybody go there and join?
I didn't call them yet, but I'm gonna find out. I'll let you
Oh,
know.
okay, because you have $64 a
Yeah, I
month,
know,
so I
but all
thought,
the ones that say
I
64.
think so.
They're all there.
That's just the number you pick.
Yeah, that's
I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
seniors that go
I
there.
know you can go there for therapy and stuff. And
No, I think any,
But
Yeah,
yeah.
you
it
can,
is public.
Some of the
yeah.
seniors go and they just pay a price and go.
but I have to call them. I didn't get to them all today, so, but I'll work. So that's 27. Now, 28, I did ask for these numbers with respect to the dive and swim team. I did have some numbers in the prior report, but they weren't as thorough, and I don't think they were quite accurate.
Right, and
These are right
check
from
with Dan,
Dan.
like
This
that's
came
what I
right
called
from
Dan.
him. Yeah,
And
this came right
so
from
I just want to
Dan.
make sure these are
I
all
literally
updated.
copy and pasted down the email.
Yeah,
So
good,
these are, you know,
Right.
what the swim and dive teams are composed of
Right.
and the season for each.
Can I ask a question on that?
Oh, sure.
So I understand why this is good factual information. So just so that, I just want to note this, that Berlin has many swim teams in the past, which had to stop in the pandemic to some degree because we couldn't get lifeguards because of the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. If people take this and consider that we're building a competitive pool solely for the swim team, that's totally erroneous. We're building a competitive pool, potentially, to have an indoor facility year-round for the community, and it includes what needs to be done to support the swim team so that they don't have to go out of town. But there are many programs in this town that were strong prior to the pandemic, of swim teams where kids now go out of town and they, you know, they're part of another swim team in the towns because we couldn't get the lifeguards or whatever. That we could, and we can only do it in the summertime, not full year. This will allow the total community to use the pool. Seniors use it for lap swimming, just like they do at the Meriden Y. And I have no problem with this, but I also, if this is intended to say that's why we're building it, that's totally erroneous and it needs to be stated. You can state what you want, make a comment down below. This is an indication of the high school needs, but the entire competitive pool and aquatic center is for the entire community. And that's why it's in the statement of need, not just for the swim team.
What I can do is I can shrink up the margins and move the swim and dive team numbers up. And then I can add a paragraph stating what you just said. Are there certain
However you
swim
want to
teams
do it.
that
Yeah.
exist that have names?
Dolphins.
The Dolphins,
No,
is- yeah, I don't know which other one. The
Debbie-
Dolphins, it's always Berlin Dolphins, right? It's an
Yeah.
older, the Berlin Dolphins and a younger, but
Debbie might
That's
have
the
some
only-
statistics. I know she's out this week, but if you want numbers, but if you want the community, if you want to understand how seniors can use that competitive pool as well.
No,
You know-
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's also intended for the entire community at large, for the Berlin
That's the
Dolphins,
first,
for
maybe that's
the
first.
seniors too. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Maybe put that up top, if you're talking about the pool usage, put that up top, and then in addition, it has the requirements for CIAC rules that allow our high school swim team, who are comprised of these members at this point in time, you know, your statistics, if you want to do that.
I can fix that, sure. Page 29 is the same document I handed out that, you know, people should look, when you're thinking about a major project like this. Here's some things that are going on and consider those and make decisions.
Impact on project. Oh, this is the inflation on the building and perhaps operating.
well, inflation on products, and construction materials. You
Sure.
know, we
Just
go
delay
through
in
this and
construction.
Inflation on the taxpayers.
Yeah, you know, so.
Yeah.
They're the ones
So I
paying for
just
this.
threw that in there because they should think about it. These unanswered questions are the same ones that I had from day one that we really didn't look at. And so it's important for.
And then B just changed community and senior center.
Switch around.
Where,
And the same
oh,
with C.
yeah, oh, under B.
It's
Yeah,
alphabetical, that's how you remember it.
yeah, okay.
We
thank you.
decided.
I'll go through the whole thing and fix it every.
Yeah.
Okay, and, okay, so that's page 30. And then I know at our last meeting, you folks said we gotta have pros and cons. So I know, that,
Hey, New Berlin Community and Senior Center. Dave, you did it.
I did it.
Yeah, you did it on this page.
It was
How the
by
hell that
mistake.
happened?
It was by mistake. So
You made a good mistake there.
page 31, 32, 30. I asked Jen, did you get any scoop from anyone on pros and cons? And she hadn't. So I just did page 31, 32, 33, and 34 by myself.
Right.
Yeah, I just went through it and did the best I could. And you can add, subtract, let me know. And we don't have to go through it now. If you want, we can, but whatever you want to do, I don't mind. But and everyone, you know, you may have others that you want to add. This was my stab at
Dave, number 7, Peck Memorial
it.
Library.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just called that.
No, when I was a kid, it was called Peck Library.
Yeah, most people still do. It's just-
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna be formal.
Okay.
Isn't that over next to St. Paul's?
Yeah, the old one, that's the original one that I remember when I was a kid. So whatever, you know, if you want to read some of those now, or you just want to do it when you get home, it's up to you folks.
There was one pro I think that we could put in there too, because it's along the lines of when you said the library may expand use in abandoned community center space, would be if the senior center can expand, or the housing would
Senior
expand at the
housing.
old senior center.
Yeah,
That
more
might
senior
that'd be a
housing.
pro there.
Oh, yeah,
Housing
okay, that's
authority.
good. I didn't get that one.
Yeah.
So more
The,
senior
yeah, the old
housing.
senior center would revert
Yeah.
back to Berlin Housing Authority
Yeah, revert, yeah.
with the probability of additional senior housing.
Senior housing, correct.
I didn't get that.
Maybe what we could do is look between your renovated, because I think some of the things that Donna had some ideas
Yeah, I
right
don't
with
mind.
her presentation.
Whatever, you know, whatever you want to
Slide.
add.
I think they're
You
gonna,
want to go through like your pros and cons and my pros and cons, or ours, or
Well, it's gonna
You
take
know,
some
just
time. It's
to-
gonna take some time to do all that. I think
Well-
if,
Dave, Donna has all hers typed up.
yeah, so
If they're in this,
I don't mind, okay, let's do it.
so this is a PowerPoint. So,
sure it's complementary to the.
right, this is like
Pull out.
Dave's report, you know, again, for the council, for whomever wants to read it, and it would be part of an appendix, because it has a lot of good detail, more information. But
so just,
and
yeah.
again, the front page, you know, can change. We had with the staff and the advisory committee, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about table of contents. But if you go to page 3, flip to page 3, okay? So, you know, on a slide, and I will say, Barbara doesn't have access to computers, and so I knew she had some pros and cons, so we sat down and I combined them. Okay? So this is really Barbara's work as
Probably some
well.
overlap here.
So and again, knowing that at least based on a task, 2 options, town funded and the why. So I just started with town funded community and senior center pros and cons. Pros, the meets the PR or Parks and Rec and senior center statement of need. I don't know if you want me to go through them, but we could also compare them to,
Yeah, you know what I do, I don't mind going through them, and if there's overlap, I won't put it, but if it's not, then.
right, and I would add yours to the PowerPoint. See, this PowerPoint
So that
would
way
be used
both
for a
documents have
presentation.
one full list that
Yeah,
match.
yep, and
Right,
and we could all review it over the
Yeah.
weekend and get ready for next week.
you want to do that?
We
Okay,
think
that's
of other
fine.
ideas, we can.
So, and Jen has the soft copy, I just gave it to her today, so, but, so
it'd be good to have some time to digest
presentation
it.
wise,
Yep.
for a PowerPoint, you have your pros and cons for the town funded. Next one is the why. Pros and cons, and again, all subject to our discussion,
Mhm.
okay?
Just for the con, it does not meet the PR statement of need. Not unsure of it. It
I'm
does
sorry,
not.
which one?
The cons for the why, your second con, you
Does
said
not-
unsure, it does not meet. We
It
know,
does not.
we know it does not meet, yeah.
We wrote it in the first sentence.
Okay,
Got it done.
yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, good. I know Jen's, working on the program's activities. This all came out of discussions with Jen, Roche, Kevin, Brendan, and, the operating budget. So what does the town get with the new facility? What are the expected hours? Jen has them now. Sample programs, activities, and I'll leave that to whatever. the work. Dave, go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to figure out where you are.
We're just
Wanna
on
go
page
back?
6.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm still on.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was going
I'm
fast.
still on.
So but look at the pros and cons, David.
Oh, yeah, okay.
She's just gonna combine them and then we'll all look at those next week or, over the
Do you
weekend.
want
or
to do that,
whatever.
Dave, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I'll,
I would like it updated on this PowerPoint as well.
can I,
I don't know, the one, the cons for not being limited to Berlin residents, we're not gonna be able to do that with our facility either for buildings. And the reality is, if you go in a 70,000 square foot facility, we're gonna need people from out of town to man it to come here.
And we want to be able to rent out that big multi-purpose room. If
Yeah.
we're going to build it, let them come.
There's no way, I mean, that's not a con for either facility.
Well, people who come from out of town to play golf, they got a membership, right?
Right?
That's exactly, yeah,
Exactly
so
what
that's
it's
not
gonna
really
be.
a con for the wide or for us.
Yeah,
And
because
the
neither
why is
facility is going
membership
to limit.
You
out
can
of
want
town.
anyone.
Why is it?
Right.
I would say
I
however,
think you and I.
But we don't care, because
Okay.
we're not,
Pros and
Yeah,
cons. You and I
make
can
one
work.
master list of
Yeah,
all.
You and I can work.
maybe the townspeople do care. I don't,
well,
all right, but
so they would be okay with people coming to our facility if the town builds it, but
if
not.
they pay a lot
otherwise?
more than our town people, yes, I do. I don't have a problem with it if we charge them more.
But why would we care about the why?
Because it's not a Berlin, Berlin community center. To me, that's a con based on the statement of needs that we had. And again, it's consensus and it's good discussion. So if we vote to take it out as a con, we vote to take it out.
Well, with the Y, anyone can have a membership. You live in California and come to the Y in Berlin.
Right.
Right.
But if we have our own facility and you're from out of town, you have that limited membership because you're paying the out of town rate. So you're coming
But we
into
need to,
Berlin.
we need to do that in order to pay for the facility. If
You
the Y
can
has
order-
people coming from out of town,
Of
the
course.
Y
we
is
can
paying
order-
for the facility. It doesn't affect us.
No, and we can offer out of town memberships. I mean, you would do that
We have to.
anyway, of course.
Yeah, we would have to, because this building is so big, we can't, the program won't support it. It won't, there's not enough people in this town to keep the doors open. We're gonna have to actively promote out of town membership. That's how
Maybe-
big this building is. So that's,
Maybe,
I wouldn't call that a con in either place. Actually, as far as the Y goes, I don't care about town people.
no, a
coming
con
to the
is that
Y.
you need a membership. For the town funded, you're gonna need a membership. For the pools, you need it, or for whatever it's decided to use it for, but that's a con. Like Dave said, you gotta pay for the building, you gotta pay a membership, that's a con. Right?
I'm not following.
And for a town funded facility, you pay a membership. To
Yes.
me, that's a negative because you're paying for, the residents are paying for a building, they're gonna pay for a membership. People have to understand. If it's free, that's a pro, but it can't be free, you know, based on our studies. Can't be free. So that's why for town funded, having memberships is a negative, you know, a membership fee to use the pools. That's why it's a town funded. As far as the why, you know, you want to take out that, you can take it out.
I have that same comment.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
So that, you know, I wrote down, membership costs will exist where none exists now for our current seniors.
Yeah, I'm just
So,
talking
right, 'cause
specifically
they don't
about
have
the out of
pools.
town people.
Oh, out of town. yeah.
I
So if
don't
we
care.
build this facility, are you looking to charge every single Berlin resident who wants to do anything in the building? Like if I just want to come in and shoot hoops during open gym or play pickleball? Am I buying a membership or am I only buying a membership if I want to use the pool and just buying a pool? I'm just trying to get a consensus what
All
everybody
the other
wants
places we visited, you're buying a membership
for the whole building.
for the whole building.
Okay,
Not, Mansfield was the only one except for the Ys. But
Okay.
the Ys in Mansfield, you had to have a membership to use the gym even.
Any place they had a
New
pool, you
ta-
had to buy a membership.
For the pools, new towns for the pool. That's what
But
it
their
was.
rates were as high as.
You don't need
memberships
to
from
have a
Mansfield.
membership to go into the community center and use their, you know, so-called.
like if
community
Barbara
center.
still wants to
You
go
do
in and
need
play
it for the
setback, is
pools.
she buying a membership now? She's never gonna use the pool. That's what I'm
As far
trying to
as the
get the
town, though, you would have to
consensus.
separate out the senior center. There are particular things, but using the gym and everything, yeah, you have to get a
So you
membership.
want a membership for the whole building?
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't.
Yeah, that's something that's gonna have to be discussed.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
Yeah.
our-
it will be up to the. convention.
Otherwise, it's gonna be a massive tax burden for everybody. You can't build a
Right,
70,000
we'll see,
square
well,
foot
right,
building
when we
and have
pull all
people in
those
there
numbers
playing
together,
pool.
we'll see that, right?
Yep.
So, right. So, but again, different opinions. You want a membership for the entire building, people want to use the gym, they have to have a membership. I don't, I want a membership for the pools only. Just like
And
Newtown.
out of towners for anything for the,
And out
out of towners for
of
anything.
towners for everything, of course,
So if
yes.
you want to
I
come
agree.
use the weight room in the new Berlin facility for Berlin resident, you want it free.
Right, because it's not a, you know, it's not a gym, it's a 2750, we asked for 3,000, it's 2750 square foot facility. If you go down to our gym that we have in the community center, I wouldn't ask people to pay for that.
Now, I guess I don't know what one is out there, what Newtown and what Putnam does. I'd like to ask.
We
I mean, I
have,
think it's a discussion, we're sort of like, some things will be a fee and some things will not be a fee. I don't know if it will be that way.
It's just a major change in the estimate of revenue.
It sure is.
you need
And if
a
that's something
membership
that
fee.
council's gonna
You do.
need as part of
You
this
need some type of
presentation,
fees.
that's gonna be a
That-
hard conversation.
And you'll see it in this I took a stab at what membership fees, but I kind of focused on the pools. And again, what other centers were doing other than Mansfield. Mansfield, quite frank, I had a hard time. Kid wants to go in, or a couple adults want to go in and throw basketball through a hoop. They had to have a membership, full membership. And we know Mansfield is not run very well. It's a terrible facility. I'm glad we went there. You go to the other facilities where there's a pool, it's a membership for the pool use. It's not, you know, for the gym. It's not for other things. It's, you know, so. That's all I can
Still
offer.
to be evaluated. yes.
The Mansfield operates like the watch. You need a membership to go in.
And so, Jen and I will work on combining the pros and cons.
Barbara, what do you want to say?
I want to ask, first of all, in a couple of meetings back, we talked about getting professional fundraising help. And we haven't talked about that since. And I also have a question here about the feasibility study for the Y. How will we know when that's going to be done and if this is even practical? Because if they have a Y in New Britain and one in Meriden and one in Southington, they don't know if they're going to be able to want to come here.
I can't imagine they would ever pay to do a feasibility study until they knew they had the land in Berlin to build on.
That was a question
my
that I asked, actually. They said that
That's
they
right.
would do a feasibility study once we decided to go with them or decided to say, this is what we want to do. We want to go with the why. Then they would do a feasibility study.
But John Benigni said that they would have, or we put that in the cons, right, for the why, the feasibility study.
Yep.
But what John said is, our first step would be to do a feasibility study.
Right.
I followed up and asked him, didn't you do that already? Like, don't you know that? And he said, actually, before he took over the New Britain Y, New Britain did a feasibility study. He said it was about 6 years ago. Because New Britain wanted, because they were in poor financial shape, they wanted to come into Berlin and build a facility. Thought that could save them. And he said, it showed Berlin could support it at best. That's his term. But he said, I need, and part of the national wide, it will require him to do a feasibility study for Berlin to make sure that it can be sustainable. To your question, Mike, how can you do it with all these Ys around? And so he has to do it. How long it will take, you know, he said 4 or 5 months, and then there's fundraising, got to raise the funds to build a facility, and then we go from there. So
on page 24 at the bottom, this is what he said. A feasibility study could take up to 1 year to complete, but a short-term study of 4 to 5 months will know will support funds. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Okay. So pros and cons, Jen and I will take care of, we'll work on it, combine. Last page is 35 on the report.
well, I'm sorry, I was going through what
I
I
thought you
put
were done,
together.
Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, we never finished Dave's.
I thought we did.
Oh, okay, so I'm sorry.
Finish what? My
I thought
Yeah,
we were
never
supposed
got
to put
to
that
your
aside.
last
Okay,
page.
sorry, Dave. Go
last
ahead.
page, yeah, we never
Yeah,
got to
we never
page
got to that.
35. No, I know.
Gotcha.
I was waiting for you to
Thank
double
you.
back
Oh,
on
yeah,
that, but
yeah, so it's-
I know that we got
that's
halfway through
just
Donna's.
35 is the final page. Conclusions and observations, and again, I put a bias there because that's what we're told, and I'm supposed to be biased. A is I want the council to know that bonding commencement deadlines are weeks away. So if they wanna, they gotta, when they read this report, you better read A, because you don't have much time. I wanna remind them, they don't have much time. If they wanna bond or go to referendum. Item B is what we talked about, future additional analysis regarding 70,000 square foot. Consider reduced facility size to lower cost. And I put those examples that we gave you last time. Item C, go back and look at unanswered questions before you make decisions, because we look at everything. D, abnormal conditions you should look at. E is you should consider a traffic study, or at least get in the back of your head that there could be traffic issues. F is, you should take a peek at that lower lane access road to see, make sure you know it's not coming. G, I think it's important for the community to know, and I think it's for town council to tell them that even if you build a Y or a new Berlin Community and Senior Center, it will not be free. Residents will have to pay monthly and annual memberships fees to join either option. Put down, this should be explained. The public needs to know. I put down, remember opportunity cost. And my final statement, which I struggled with what I left in there, because we have been told time and time again that we're not supposed to be biased, or we're not supposed to have preferences. So I want everyone to know that if you're reading this report, you can't be biased or prejudiced either. So that's why I put that final statement.
Who can't be? I'm sorry.
The town council.
That's whoever reads the report, because
Because
I've seen biases from a lot of different people in a
That's how
lot,
I
in a
read
lot of different places. And I just want people to know, say, like, read this honestly and like make a good decision, because some people have biases and prejudices one way or another. Some people say, hey, I don't want to spend a penny on anything because I don't want my taxes low. Somebody said, I want to drop, 44 million, but they have biases and prejudices one way or another. And I just want to, what's that?
Keep an open mind.
I just want to keep that in there, just
Maybe that's how I say it. Keep an open mind. Everybody, Should keep an open
I
mind,
can add that, yeah, keep an open mind.
rather than saying it the way it's.
Oh, no, I want to
typed.
leave it in there, but
Think
I'll take it out if you guys tell me. No, I think,
I think keep an open mind instead of that wording. I like that. I think that's good.
well, let me tell
Mind
you, there's-
evaluate
Open
everything.
and fair.
yeah,
or,
no,
you know.
but I think there's people that have biases that are gonna be
Everybody
making the
does.
decision.
Everybody.
And I want to remind them, and you told us we couldn't have them, so please be careful, don't have them yourself. I'll take it out, but I'm leaving it until next meeting.
Okay.
And that's it, folks, for me.
Well,
wanna go back
there you
to
go.
Rick or
That was all
Donna,
the
a
work,
few more
Dave.
pages, you wanna-
Appreciate it.
Good job.
God bless you. So,
We're on page 6 of Donna's, I hope you
okay,
wanna
we're in.
finish that.
Okay,
Mingled
so-
things there, but that's okay.
Yep, so, and again, this is the taking, and I didn't take everything from Dave's report, not even wording. I knew he was gonna do a second draft, so, you know, we can change wording. But again, thinking about a presentation. So here we are, we talk about, we tell the town, the town funded facilities is what you know, gonna get with programs and things. Design and construction costs, inflationary environment, tough to estimate without detailed bids, and no bids without town approval. Current estimate, 35.7 plus 500,000 for furniture, activity assets, et cetera, 36.2 million, but that assumed 22 late summer build. Total guesstimate, 10% or more 1 year later. And again, I can update to, you have 40 and 44 million for, you know, I can just change that. Because perhaps 40 million, 43.5 million, if it's 20% more, you know, who knows, right? To limit those dollars, you need to reduce the facility size and prioritize needs. Now, this is
Can you actually
just,
put those words in to limit and add those dollars?
sure,
Like I read
yeah,
that, I
no,
was
just
just,
mark,
when I read that, I was just a little confused.
Sure, just
to
mark-
limit
yep.
what.
to limit dollar, yep. Now, this is, to your point, David, you know, kind of, and maybe I bring in, you know, bonding is getting close. Do you have time? With everything that we've gathered, this is just my thought process. Everything that we've gathered and knowing how much we haven't done, right? Through no fault of any of ours. Given the time, the short time frame the town council has to consider a Y option or a town funded option, there's a lot to do on the Y option. They have to have discussions. You know, is it really truly something that they will do? Because if they don't get that sense, are we gonna be left with nothing? And maybe that's okay too. Even for a town funded option. You know, I'm trying to be open here. Maybe I'm the one that pushed. I wanted November. I'm sitting back and saying, okay, given the council what they have and knowing the inflationary environment, knowing the work involved that people, you know, still working on, and all of us included, that consider pushing it off to April. If town funded alternative chosen, there's a lot more work to be done and commit to it. But, and again, I say the same thing for the Y, and I apologize, I actually changed that, but I must have sent the other version. But the Y the same, they have a lot to study with the Y and get together with the Y, because maybe what they decide with the Y, because they want to have the Y put all these bells and whistles in, so they're gonna give them the land, or they're gonna give them maybe a donation or whatever. And if it's 5 million or more, they gotta go to a referendum. They're not gonna be able to decide all that and get that all done by May, so that they could do that, you know what I mean? So that's why I put that in. You can consider it, change it, just, that's why it's there.
Well, he also said at the Y that they have to fundraise.
Yes.
Right, it takes some time, but maybe there's, I don't know how it's gonna work with the Y, but, you know, we couldn't study it all that much, but they have to have some kind, you know, I would think, it's up to the council. However they think, what commitment that they have, that they will end up building it at some point, I don't know.
And everyone has to raise funds, whether it's the Y or the town.
That's correct, yeah,
For the project.
right, it all takes us, yeah. Okay, so then, how much is this? We told them now what this town funded facility is, how the programs are gonna run, the hours. How much does it cost? whatever it's gonna be. And the net just show, incremental revenue, hundreds of thousands of dollars. No one has to carry it out to the thousands. Incremental expenditures. What's the net operating annual income or loss? Whatever that is. Next, slide 8, potential incremental revenue. This is memberships. What I did, and I have questions as well, is I took a look at the membership fees for all of the Wise, Mansfield, Newtown, and all that. Quite frankly, based on my opinion, I thought Newtown was probably the best run facility. And on the membership side, seemed to have a good grasp of how to approach it. So in Newtown, and that's this footnote 3, which the footnotes will all change, but Newtown assumed 2,000 members and ended up with 5,000 members, of which 25% are out of town. The population is 27,173. Memberships are, because it's 25%, would be 1,000 members and 4,000 town residents. The 4,000 town residents represents 14.7% of their population that have become members in their facility for their pools. What I used is I said, okay, I started higher, quite frankly, but then I brought it down. I said, okay, I'm not going to use 14%. Maybe I'll use the middle ground and say 3,000, which is 11% of our 20,000 population, ends up, to be members for borough.
But these are just pool memberships, right?
I only consider these to be pool memberships. That's correct. Aquatic center, whether you use it, whatever pool, but aquatic center, right. Again, you can think senior center, if you feel this should be a charge or whatever. I looked at Newtown's fees by item, like family and all that. And I bumped it up a little bit, like Newtown has like $42. I either made it 40 or 45 bucks. Again, up to discussion. But a resident, as you can see, the first column, family, 2 adults and children in the same household, 45 bucks a month. Non-resident, 55 bucks a month. And then you go down, single parent, like what Dave had in his examples, 35, resident 45, this is per month. Seniors, you can see it there, senior couple would be 35, whereas one senior 60 and older would be 25 in resident. And blah, blah, blah. And then you'd have some day passes, very small revenue. So then when you look at the number of memberships and assume how many people might be in that membership. So a family just going across, and this is where you have to guess, as I talked to the executive director down in Newtown, I said, how do you approach it? He goes, you got to take a guess as to how many you're going to get in each grouping to come up. But overall, between, the percentage of population is really what you're after, get more. So 200 residents, 200 families just going across that are residents of Berlin, 25% would be 50 non-resident families joining. And based on our census, a household is averaging 3.1 persons in a household. Families might be a little bit more, single parent might be a little bit less, but on average it's 3.1. So 3.1 times 200, the residents, gives you a Berlin head count joining of 620. Okay, that's how I approached it, going down to each one of these categories. Right or wrong, change the numbers. But in total, if you look down, the head count would be 2,190 for individuals that can use the pools based on the membership fee. 2,190 is 11% of our population of 20,000. That's the kind of approach that you have to at some point, the town's going to have to go through if they move forward. How much is that in revenue? To the last column, 45 times 620, you should get my numbers here, 141,000. In total, if you buy off on this, you'd have annual memberships revenue coming in of 634,000. If you like that, that would be the incremental revenue that would go back on page 7. 634 in membership fees. Now, there might be some other revenue, which we
Yeah, 'cause
passed
if
out
you're
last week, like fundraising,
Or if you're
grants.
doing a membership for the whole building, it would probably be
And-
more
and-
than $45.
right, if you
Yeah.
Decide you want to have another membership, right, all that kind of stuff. That's what we'd want to do. And then I thought, like in Dave's package, refer to appendix page, whatever the page is, where we have those memberships. Because they can see all the different memberships for the Ys, for the Mansfield, for Newtown, and, so that they can see how that schedule will compare to that. Okay? I know Jen, as we know, and working with Kevin and Roche and whomever else is gonna come up with operating expenditures. Again, estimating, these are all pro forma, they're not, this is our best guess, right? And then on page 10, whatever the dollars are, if we're gonna have 3 different versions or whatever, but the dollars, the net operating loss, I know the membership is not gonna cover the operating expenditure, you're gonna have a loss. What that total is, what's the mill rate impact in total? And realize that if that's paid over 10 years, that's gonna be the impact for the 10-year period, a little bit coming down as you pay off the debt and things, but. Okay, again, this is the PowerPoint, like just bringing up the major points. And reference back to Dave's, whatever page it is. Town debt and amortization and tax, I thought that would be important because if it's given to the public, I thought we'd want to incorporate it in there, but I wanted, to see how the tables are and we could bring something in. But if you're giving it to the public, I still will say I would strongly recommend, that, and I'm trying to be fair and unbiased, is tell someone, that has a $350,000 house, this is the impact at the high end of that debt schedule. I just think that's a fair thing to do. So anyway, and you do it when you do your budget, for the town, give those options. Okay, so how do you minimize those costs if you can? Page 12, funding options other than borough and taxes. Outside funding is not available until after the town approves a project and cannot be guaranteed. That's why we have to tell them worst case, subject to the numbers. That's the impact that you just saw. I can't guarantee that we can get anything else from anyone else. But I do think, again, based on discussions, that the town, just like the Y, would hire a fundraising professional for this specific project. And then just showing source ideas to lower taxpayer support. Where do they come from? This is from our reps. They talked, as they were talking, they said, put boxes down. And I actually did it while they were talking and I liked it. Because it kind of tells you, all right, you got public grants, you got the federal, we got 3 Congress people, and they each have earmarks. And as I've learned in talking to them, the time to get to them is in the spring, because by the time the summer rolls around, they'll pick it, and then in November, they go into their budget and figure it out. We talked to the state reps. There's grants, there's bonding, et cetera. Donna Veach said she's gonna have conversations and check on things, and I'm sure she will. But again, the point, we can't guarantee that we get anything. But if you look at the latest bonding, I don't know, Dave, good? I didn't know if you, that's okay. I didn't know if you had a question. But if you look at the grants that have gotten out of community center from the states, $2.5 million. I have examples. It's been in the paper. You can go to the bonding, you can go to the grants from the state and look at all the other towns that have gotten the monies. Private funds, there's for-profit company, private foundations, Eversource, Comcast are right here in town. I don't know them, but I know they have foundations. And, I'm just throwing this out. I always try and think outside the box. And Brenda and I have talked, Eversource, right?
Yep.
What a great place to have a conversation about solar. And maybe they can do something for this facility, or even if it's a Y, whatever. The Y is gonna go after them. But, okay, maybe they'll do a donation. And maybe we can give them name ring rights in some way, you know, again, for-profit companies, private foundations. There's nonprofit foundations. Most of your nonprofit could support some of your operations during the year. They don't give a lot of money, but they do give it periodically if you have a special program, maybe going for the seniors, or a special program for teens or whatever. And then fundraising and donations. And I know this is corny, guys, but this is what you gotta do when you fundraise. In the aquatic center, you have a wall of whales. People donate, they get their names up there, buy a whale, you know, buy a brick, whatever. Fish, I'm just throwing out examples. Mini golf tournament, we have a professional mini golfer that lives here in East Berlin. I went to the Rotary, he had a great discussion, I talked to him about fundraising. He said, he goes, I've done fundraising all over the world. He says, you get your local companies, kind of neat. And even to think about if we need to do a fundraiser for something else. You get the companies and their engineering staff, they buy a hole. The engineers design the mini golf hole. And he said, it's unbelievable. You know, they'll take a room like this and they'll have pipes, you know, one will have pipes going or whatever. And, you know, the engineers really get into it, but they buy a hole and they have their engineers work on it. Then you open up the mini golf tournament, you have prizes, you have the town come in, play mini golf, whatever. He says, generally we raise about 50,000. We do it annually at some places, but he lives right here in East Berlin. You know, that's what I also learned at Newtown. There are companies, there are people that, you know, and God bless all of us in Berlin because it's a very giving community, but they will support these types of things, kind of unique ideas. And we could get some donations that way. Newtown, guy put in the whole wireless system for Newtown. They never had to pay for the wireless system because there was a local guy that did it. So that's fundraising or funding options. Okay, next page, recommended changes to current conceptual design. So I'll just throw this up. So based on our discussions, our visit to existing centers and to the audience of citizens that we've heard from, a couple of things that I noted here would require a change to the statement of need, just because those would have to go back probably to the commissions to determine through them. But eliminate designs incorporating conceptual design that were not, you know, I'm sorry, I have it backwards. These do not require change in the statement of need. Eliminate designs that were never requested. Third pull, never requested, take it out. Clarify the kitchen needs. As Jen noted, the senior center talked about a large commercial kitchen. I don't know what that really means. I know what other towns have done and what our Carrie put in. And to me, it's quite extravagant. But again, we can take it out if you don't want that in there. Consider 45 to 55,000 square foot facility, if doable, that includes indoor water therapy pool and competitive pool and gym. And again, that's, you know, the Y talked 30, 33, maybe we'd have to go to 40,000. So I just, you know, consider that. Those that don't require a change, spectator stands, as mentioned by Mr. Thurston, get them off the floor above the locker rooms. Consider the depth of the pool at the deep end to be 13 feet rather than 12 because of a potential change. I think there's more discussion on that, but.
And that is in the statement of needs, it says 12 feet.
It's at 12.
Yeah,
Right.
so that is,
So
that
would-
is a change to statement of needs.
That's good. Good point. Thank you.
I'm gonna double check that, but.
Good. Brendan, whatever the wording should be, eliminate the high ceilings and, you know, the cracking. We've been to centers that have the lower ceilings, it looks just fine. Yeah. Jen's brought this out. One main entrance with one combined office suite for both parks and rec and senior personnel. It helps be able to juggle the workload. They might not need as many people, blah, blah, blah.
I really liked Rocky Neal setup. The front desk,
Yeah,
I really
that Rocky
liked
Hill
how
was
both
great.
departments were just there.
You can, I mean, just think about
I
how
really
you can
like that.
leverage staff without having.
Put it in the
to-
middle of the building, have one main entrance.
Determine if library, Dave had this, determine if library will keep any community rooms. And if they're gonna keep them as community rooms, then maybe we don't need as many separate rooms in the new community center. Or use the multi-purpose rooms that we have in the community center for activities. Rather than having rooms, that would reduce the square footage.
Diving well's fine, it says minimum 12 feet.
I'm sorry,
Diving well says minimum 12 feet, so you're covered.
that's that's right.
We
Yeah.
have to put the
Oh,
word-
so
we
I
put
see,
the
so they
word
could do
minimum.
it without.
So they don't need to, it's not an official change in the
So it would
agreement.
not change, okay, good. Eliminate patio spaces, it's great. Nice patio outside, some of the centers have it, you know, it's nice to bring people outside. We didn't ask for it. Okay, that could be an add-on years down the road or whenever they want to do it, take it out. Consider green energy and solar to reduce energy costs. What we did learn at these centers is that if they didn't put solar in the beginning, they either have done it now, Mansfield did it later on, and they got a state grant to do it. Newtown put it in. Branford was gonna put it in, or is planning to put it in, and they even talked about putting it above the carport, where they park the vans for the senior center and some other town cars. So most of these centers, now Rocky Hill was not the case. So most of these centers are really considering solar, so that it's something that I think, you know, the town council should consider. And again, those are in our notes, how, you know, whether or not we include in the detail below or behind. Conclusion and next steps, last page. Again, I consider the April 23 referendum to give more work on the town funded alternative or the Y if that's the chosen option. But, or work on both simultaneously, just in case you lose, you know, if it's the Y you really want, but you lose that, you still got traction going with the other town funded. Funded community and senior center, this work to be done. What the hell was I thinking? I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, something like that. Dave has a good conclusion page. I think we should incorporate that in there. The why. I had a tough time figuring out what we could put in for the why, but I like Dave's approach with comments, and I think, you know, what John Benigni said. You know, bullets of the.
That's all the
Dave
info we
has
have.
many of them. I'd like to go back to my notes and just, I didn't have time. But take a look at things and consider those to be put in for points for the why. And then, you know, that's it. And now I remember what I wanted. What does the town council have to think about and do before they're ready for a referendum? You know, so that's it. The other last point I want to make, I just a couple of days saw that this Cromwell is now canvassing their town for a community and senior center. I don't know if everybody's aware of that. I throw that out. I'm not a big proponent, but I'm gonna throw this out. Cromwell's right next to Berlin. If this thing is too expensive for Berlin, maybe there's something, if they're considering it, where if you wanted to do a town-funded option and you have two towns into it, right next door, maybe that's something to consider. I wanted to mention that to people so that you're aware, but they're going through a canvassing of their town and discussing it as well. I don't know if the Y is going to be talking to them too. I have no idea about that, but they are going through and looking at a community center. So I just learned that, so I want to share that. That's it.
I'll think of some ideas to share with you, because when I walked through building, I saw some of these new places, a lot of wasted space. That was the term I was using.
That's what Debbie's
Wasted space, the high atrium.
That's-
I mean,
Debbie's
you
mentioned
know,
that in Bloomfield, the hallways are so big, Newtown, the hallways were so big, and I was bragging, you could do stuff, and Debbie's like, I'd rather have
Well, that's
more
what I
room in my
noticed from
meeting rooms.
Bloomfield. You had the huge
Oh,
open
crap.
atrium,
Yeah.
sheet rock ceilings that were cracking. Like,
Yep.
How are you gonna get in there?
Wasted space.
Maintenance isn't gonna do that in the town of Berlin. You're gonna have to get a lift in there.
Exactly.
Ceilings were.
First thing I noticed when I looked at the plans for the one we're looking at here is the entryway look like you're walking onto some cruise ship.
It's just too
Yeah, I mean,
wide.
you know,
I'd rather put that into
Twice
the
the
rooms
space.
where
Yeah.
you're not gonna
you know, and I
waste
know
the
the
space.
topography of the land made him design a split level
Mhm.
building, but
Right,
you're on one level, you don't need to elevate.
Too extravagant.
And that's a big
and if you
expense.
have one entrance with the joint apartments, all of a sudden you save some space right there.
Yeah, so. I don't think
That's
it's-
good, no elevator, yeah. Again, these are good, those are good design changes.
And some of the things too that if council decides to push it back to the commissions, you know. When I look at projects, I see alternates. You see a base bid and then there's ads or deducts based on what you think you can spend, how it get passed, you know, so maybe you don't have all those conference rooms and other rooms.
Right. but
Maybe there's a
add-ons.
wing that's a an add-on or something like
No,
Like one whole wing, it's just an add-on.
and if they wanted to go that, they're not gonna make a November referendum, because it has to be redesigned and all that, you
that.
know,
Two commissions have to have their input.
right?
So can I take the floor and talk about meeting schedule?
Sure.
So we have a meeting next Thursday at 6 o'clock. Then we supposedly have a meeting April 7th, but we can't have that meeting because that's the same day as the Park and Recreation meeting, which is the first Thursday because of the Easter holiday this month. So April 14th is not an option either. Do you want to try and squeeze in another meeting? If so, I looked at the Town of Berlin calendar. You have an option next Wednesday, which means you meet next Wednesday and Thursday, or Wednesday, April 6th.
6,
2 days of this.
not back to back, it's
So
not
much fun,
beneficial.
huh?
No, I
would-
just,
would be
like I said, I'm
unavailable
just
next
looking at the options.
Takes 2 days for this
Or
to
if
absorb.
Are we
you're,
close
or if you
enough?
wanna look at, because I think you guys are getting to the point of your completion things, I'm assuming. I'm thinking that Donna's PowerPoint and Dave's report are most likely gonna be completed at next Thursday's meeting, but I'd rather get another one on the calendar and say we don't need it than try to deal with people's schedules 2 weeks from now. So if you look at the week of April 4th, evening wise, per town meetings and people's commissions, Wednesday the 6th is the only option in the evening. If you want to do a daytime meeting, that's a different story. I also don't know if Board of Ed is available because they were already gone when I looked at the calendar.
I could do April 6th.
I'm okay with it.
I'm fine April 6th, next Wednesday.
That's fine, and we're meeting Thursday. So if we do the 31st and then we just switch the 7th to the 6th,
There's no Board of Finance April 5th? Oh, that's April 12th.
Board of Finance, no, April 6th is a Wednesday. Board of Finance is on Tuesdays, aren't you?
Wednesday would work.
April 6th was
Oh,
completely
April
empty.
6th, I
Yeah.
heard 5th.
Yeah, no, Wednesday the
April 6th.
6th.
Okay,
There's no other commission, there's no other meetings on the town calendar.
okay.
So we want, I'll set that off, I'll book it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We need a motion.
yeah, let's make a motion to add a meeting on April 6th at 6 o'clock.
Where is your motion? Accept that.
Make a motion to create a meeting April 6th at 6 o'clock.
You get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Perfect. Oh, Mike, I forgot about you over there.
So
thanks.
Here's heading to the table. I did.
should we, since April is right around the corner, should we now ask the mayor what the date is? Like Kevin mentioned to me the other day, he goes, "So are you still putting the presentation on the 19th? I said, I think that's up to, up in the air. I thought it was the 19th, but, I think that's up in the air. So I don't know what,
I don't think anything's been
But I-
I
said.
don't think there's a firm time on that yet.
so should
It
we
was
ask
just a rough-
them so that we make sure that because if he wants to do it the 19th, we definitely gotta be done the 6th,
Yep.
or whatever.
But we may, well, we can just ask it the 19th. We're not gonna
19th
know
is a
till the
regular council
31st
meeting
at
now.
our next meeting, how close we are to being all done.
The mayor had said something about making the 19th a special council meeting where we would do it.
But you
I think-
already have a meeting on the 19th.
Right. So
Right,
I
he
don't
was
know,
gonna
I don't know
do
what
it
he
to
was.
Make the public, like,
Like an hour early or something.
Yeah, I
And
think
is
one
that
recommendation was
also-
doing it at the senior center in the afternoon and then doing one in the
right,
evening.
fun to do
Is the
too.
19th, Brendan and Mike, the same day you guys are gonna be discussing the budget at the town council
And
meeting?
that was on the schedule.
So yeah, it's possible.
That
I
would,
don't have it on my schedule.
It was just something that was thrown out, and I'm sure that we could,
Like you said,
that
maybe do a
discussion as
6
well.
o'clock presentation.
That'll be a short discussion. It's a perfect budget.
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank everybody for all their time and effort here. It's starting to pull together real nicely.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you, everybody.
Anybody have any other points of order before I ask for an adjournment? All good?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Motion on the floor in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Good night,
Mike.
everybody.
Good night, Mike.
Bye.
Good job, Dave. Yeah.